What is up, RotoGrinders? Good morning. Week 16, Sweet 16. We made it. We almost made it. We're at the quarter pole. 3.5 hours, nonstop NFL DFS conversation starts right now. Myself, Tim, TastefulTides, single entry specialist, cash game specialist, 3-entry max specialist, winner of multiple, you can't even count the number of 6-figure contests he has taken down. Tim, welcome. Good morning. How are things?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Dean. We're really getting down to the end here. It's been a really awesome season. Definitely looking forward to today though, because I think I don't know. I think today is actually kind of hard because I think there's quite a few different ways you can go about playing at least tournaments. I think cash games is pretty straightforward, but GPPs, there's a lot of different stacks, a lot of different ways you can go about building your teams.
I was hoping you would help me out, and you're telling me today is hard, and I agree. By the way, I don't know if it's me or if it's everybody, but like your shirt is tripping me out. I don't know if it's my glasses or not.
My shirt?
Yeah, it's like making these weird waves, and I don't know if it's like something to do with you being like
weird. It's like the plainest shirt ever.
Chat, let me know. Maybe is that me or is that something with the camera? Maybe something's wrong with my eyes. I got to get them checked or something, but. Maybe TJ can chime in as well because it is tripping me out. All right, it's like one of those. Well, it's not worth getting into. Maybe, yeah. TJ saying it's just me. I don't know what's going on, but it is. The lines just keep waving on me. Maybe it's my my side monitor. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, yeah. No monster total, right? We have 12 games on FanDuel, 11 on DK. We do have the Mike Evans kind of sort of somewhat homecoming game there in Dallas this Sunday night. I think that's the biggest total on the board, still 48.5. Unfortunately, we don't have that on the DraftKings slates. One of the most popular plays is somebody we really haven't seen all season long is we haven't, with the exception of kind of a cup of coffee during preseason, is Michael Penix. Finally, the Atlanta just realized that Kirk Cousins can't move. He's immobile, and we actually have a chance to make a run at things. So let's see. Let's make the quarterback spot now. And it's a super comfortable landing spot against the Giants. Interesting conversation. Like, I'm curious what your thoughts are, but like, do they just grind it? And, they could probably just run it all day on New York, or let Penix just unleash, because this is a great spot to unleash and get to confidence and all that kind of stuff. They do have like a 25 team total, and they're in a dome, which is important this time of year. I will drop the weather report, giving it a refresh. I don't think we have anything of late as far as anything new. Of course, Kevin Roth will be all over it. Up to lock. But, nothing too dicey. Yellow is the worst we have. I'll go ahead and drop this in chat. Of course, it's going to be cold in some places. Some wind, but nothing outrageous. Green, yellow in Washington. Temperatures in the 30s. 5 to 10 miles per hour. Oh, my brother was at that game today. I just realized. Yellow in Minnesota, Seattle. Yellow for Buffalo, light winds, just cold. Just going to be cold. Detroit out of the dome in Chicago, 30 degrees, 10 to 15 miles per hour, sustained wind gusting around 25. But, yeah, again, nothing too dicey, nothing to be terribly concerned about. Weather-wise, injuries, I mentioned Detroit's. Of course, David Montgomery's out. And you said the slate is hard, but at least for cash – we'll have a conversation for tournaments, Tim. But one of the first things I think you're supposed to do when you're making your cash lineup is you just play Jahmyr Gibbs, right? That's it. Play Gibbs.
Oh yeah, definitely. I thought you were gonna say the quarterback that you're definitely supposed to play as well. You're definitely playing Gibbs in cash games, which is weird because the blitz is not giving out Gibbs and it's optimal. But I don't know if I really like that. But yeah. I would definitely be playing Gibbs in cash games. No Montgomery. I know playing in Chicago is not ideal, but I don't really care. I mean, I think you've got to play Gibbs in cash.
Yeah, that's where I stand as well. Also of notes as far as who's in and who's out and stuff like that. Hill expected to play. I know he's got that wrist. Otten unlikely to play tonight for Tampa. I think he might officially be out. Tony Pollard's doing this thing where he's just not practicing, but he's going to play. Pollard's expected to play. Is Zach Ertz expected to play now?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I think we've added him.
Yeah. So if you had any dreams of what's the backup tight end rookie for Washington?
Sanat.
Yeah. Ben Sanat. Probably put those to bed. Basically, everybody is playing, right? That was, kind of questionable. Tyrone Tracy also expected to play. And Breece Hall expected to play. So I guess they have as well as Braylon Allen. So the Jets probably playing all three with Davis included, I imagine. Bit messy there. Big picture wise. Bo, who do you think I was gonna say as far as a lock, as far as quarterback when it comes to this slate?
For cash games?
Is it? I guess it's Penix on DK.
Yeah, it's him on both sides.
Ooh, really? Okay.
For cash games, yeah. I'm not saying it. No.
I don't know if he's a lock on FanDuel for cash. Just the way the salary's set up. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with you that he is not a struggle play on FanDuel, but I would still be playing him in cash on both sides.
I am running some blitz optimals. I wanted to see what you were talking about as far as the running back stuff. Where is? I think it's changed. It looks like the newest blitz stuff has Gibbs.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
He's in my optimal for what it's worth.
Mine too now.
It's stop me if you heard this before, Tim. It's a running back strong week. The running backs are really, really strong. Good. Ideally, you want to get 3 running backs in your cash game lineup. Gibbs looks awesome. Chase Brown is, very, very clearly that's basically his entire backfield there now. And Cincy, he's been spectacular. Connor versus Carolina looks really good. When the news broke as far as the Penix thing, I was thinking Bijan's going to be like an awesome play, and I'm a little bit surprised he's kind of like behind those guys. So I think he's like, if nothing else, makes a really interesting tournament play. Like, of course, they're going to work in, their backup. It was like if you want to get goofy in tournaments or, the Millie Maker or something like that, by all means, if you want to play some, God, I'm losing the guy's name. The backup running back.
Algier?
Yeah, like if you want to do that for tournaments, but I think Bijan's like, I'm a little surprised. I understand ownership stuff, right? The more a salary cap, you're going to spend on Gibbs first, and then all of a sudden you start pinching pennies. But I think Bijan is, you got to think that they're going to want some sort of balance. They're not just going to fully unleash Penix, and they might even like overload with running backs. And home favorite in a dome this time of year, 8-point favorite, 2016 total, give or take. I love Bijan, and I'm a little bit surprised at his ownership. I'm seeing like 16%, somewhere around there. And I guess because if you're doing priority stuff, you're going to prioritize Gibbs first, and I get that. But maybe I had my head of Chase Brown. We'll see. We'll have that discussion. Big picture-wise, anything you want to note before we dive in? As far as the slate, do you want to say what's up to the chat as well? Hey, chat. Get comfortable. 3 hours plus. Join the conversation. It's more fun when it's interactive. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do all those things. Hit everything. Tim, what do you have as far as the overview? Again, there's not one big game where it's like a 55 total. We got a Bills team that has a 30-team total, like nobody's playing anybody in the Bills, which is just, I get it. It makes sense. I understand why, but it's just sort of weird on the surface because they have 19 different guys that can score. Of course, you can just play, Josh Allen nude. But he's pricey as well, and maybe he probably doesn't get pushed. And we have several of those spots, right, where it's like, well, is Josh Allen going to get pushed? Well, is Joe Burrow going to get pushed? Right?
Yeah.
We've talked about it all week, so I'm sure people have heard about it. But like the NFL, or I guess Stefanski depriving us of Jameis versus the Bengals. I mean, this is grounds for a fine. I'm not saying the guy should lose his job necessarily, but man, and the downgrade to DTR is just brutal.
It's so bad.
That could have been so fun.
Yeah, that would have been such a fun game. But like you said, the downgrade to DTR is incredibly bad. So that game to me now took a huge hit. I mean, obviously you can always play Burrow. I always could play like his big wide receiving pieces, but that game as a whole took a massive hit with no Jameis. So yeah, probably a game that outside of Chase Brown, I'm probably gonna be staying away from in single entry. I might even fade Chase Brown, but that's I don't know. We'll talk about it just because running back is so loaded. You're right though. Guys like Bijan, guys like Saquon, they're gonna get super squeezed when it comes to running back ownership. A-Chain also I think is gonna get squeezed pretty aggressively because people are gonna be playing the James Connors, the Chase Browns, and the Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, and Chuba also. I mean, Chuba's in a fantastic spot. He's projected for fairly high ownership as well. So I mean, there's a lot of really, really strong running backs, excuse me. So, if you stay outside of those 3 or 4 guys, you're going to get a pretty significant discount in ownership. Now, am I saying that those 3 or 4 guys aren't going to be optimal? No. Or chances are, a couple of them are going to be optimal. So, but I think you should be making some pivots at the running back position in all formats today, outside of cash games.
It's a good day to be a little bit, just a little bit different, I think, because people are going to be. I guess it's kind of flat. But there's going to be some players that are going to be pretty well owned, and especially for the stuff that we do. What we do, we like the contract and single entry stuff. I mean, do you dare not play Jahmyr Gibbs in single entry where he's probably going to be,
I know,
60%, 65%, maybe 70%, which is such a huge number. But what is the story where when he falters, he doesn't get there? What's a bad day for him? His floor is 13 and change according to FanDuel. It's going to be even higher, of course, on DK. But
it's 14.5 on DK.
Yeah. Is he going to be like 65, 70% owned in single entry stuff?
That's what I'm worried about. Like I play like all the spies, like the $100 and $200 level stuff. Play like the 254 max, and I'm thinking like, what's he gonna be in these tournaments? Like, is he gonna get over 65%? Do I want to play him if he gets to be that high? Like, is that even still positive EV if I click that at larger than 65% ownership? I'm not really sure. And there are like if I go to Bijan over Gibbs, I mean Gibbs could Robinson could easily outscore Gibbs and going to be at the fraction of the ownership. So, that's one pivot that I'm considering. But yeah, I mean, I think Gibbs is going to be well over 50% in single entry stuff.
I think so too. But the other part of it is like you might be like burying your head and like, you're a part of the 30% that's dead because Gibbs puts up a 40 spot.
Yep.
What do you got, TJ?
Everybody else pay the rake. Play Jahmyr Gibbs in 100% of lineups.
It's a violent game. You're not rooting for injuries, but these things happen sometimes. I did run SimLabs. I'm sure we'll talk about some SimLabs stuff later. 65% Gibbs.
Yep.
So the SimLabs don't care
right.
about how popular Gibbs is going to be. HM was the second guy that hit my stuff for what it's worth on SimLabs, 28%. Bijan at 12, so basically with the field, I think. It's a good conversation. And we always talk about it like single entry stuff. People don't like to get as ambitious. A lot of people throw essentially their cash game lineup, and there's sometimes they're directly their cash game lineup. Sometimes like a cash game plus, like a 2v2 spun off it. And it's just, people don't want to get away. You put your premium lineups in there. You got to be willing to finish dead last if you're not playing.
Right.
Games.
Right.
Which, there's no reward for finishing in the middle. Who cares? You don't want to finish in the middle. You're Ricky Bobby style, right? Yeah. Let's do a little cash breakdown before we go position by position. Let's see. We have some questions popping up in chat. Yeah, Alan's talking about Barkley chasing 2K. It's an important game in the Western, the NFC. with Washington and Philly. Philly in that 10-game winning streak. So yeah, if you guys sprinkle in your questions, Chris is talking about Algier and Robinson stack. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's possible.
Algier and Robinson on the same team.
Yeah, you're just hoping they're running for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they just kind of Penix is essentially a game manager, I suppose.
I mean, I guess, but I don't know. I don't love it.
Yeah, and it also
Allen bringing up the fact that Barkley's chasing 2,000 yards, which I agree, that's a real thing, and I don't think anyone's going to be playing Philly or Barkley. Maybe some people play Devonta Smith, but I think for the most part, the Eagles are going to go really, really low owned, Barkley included. We currently have him at 6% projected ownership. So I think that narrative has something real behind it.
He's got 1688 on the season. The one clip though, makes me think he doesn't care a ton about his personal accolades. I don't know if you saw that one clip earlier in the season where they were shellacking somebody. I can't remember who it was. Might have been the Giants. They're beating up on somebody, and the coach came over like, "Oh, you want to still keep playing? We'll keep feeding you." And he's like, "Nah, I'm good. Let the other guys eat." Basically, I don't know. You take that for what it is, but they have motivation as well. With 300 yards and change. I know they play the last week of the season against the Giants at home. I don't know if that game's going to matter or not, but if it does, good Lord. And they're going to be favored by, 17, assuming they're playing their normal guys, right? And they have full motivation. Shout out to Bobby in chat. What's up, Bobby? Bobby should be joining us soon. Hopefully he'll be here next week. We've missed Bobby as well. Yeah. I wonder what Bobby's takes would be. Feel free to throw your takes in the chat there, Bobby. Feel free to join the conversation, much like everybody else. I see TJ in the chat as well. TJ was talking about how cold it was in Saskatoon. I know you're up there in Maine, so you probably are dealing with some cold as well. What is it, TJ?
Beautiful today. 10 degrees out right now. It's walk right outside. Don't have to start the car first. Nice weather.
But is that really beautiful, or is he just playing a bit there? 10 degrees does not seem beautiful to me.
Yeah,
that is nice for right now.
It's 13 where I live.
Oh my god! I think it's 55, 60 here. It's pretty cold in Florida, and I'm not making a joke. People will bundle up in 55, 60. It's very easy to tell who the tourists are. Those that are wearing shorts. All right, let's do a little dance as far as the cash game stuff. We DK. Yeah, I guess you think it's Penix. It's Penix over Richardson.
I guess Richardson would be the only other quarterback that I would even consider for cash games, just because he does have that nice rushing floor. But really, it's Penix in cash. I think is the clear choice.
Ownership wise on DK, we got Penix number 1, Richardson 15%, Penix almost 17%. The Caleb Williams one, 10%. Man, that is. He's looked pretty bad.
It's a great paced game environment. He's got really, really cheap wide receivers that he can throw to. I don't want to play Caleb either. If Caleb beats me today, that's fine. Go ahead. I'm gonna pivot elsewhere. But I can see why he's getting so much ownership, though, is because Moore and Allen are so cheap. So it makes sense that he's going to get some ownership. So I think the question is do we play Penix in stacks, or do we just play him naked? Do we play Richardson in stacks, or can we just play him naked? I have no interest in DTR. I know he's 4,800. He's coming in at around 5.5%, which is pretty high for a QB. You don't have any interest in DTR, do you, Dean? I mean, I'm not.
No, I'm confused why he's getting 5%. To be honest, I don't think that's right. Maybe I'm just my finger's not in the pulse of that one, but we're showing 5%.
Right.
I guess quarterback X versus Cincinnati is always interesting, but he's mostly legs. He can throw the ball, I guess, but not efficiently. He's probably going to throw it a lot because they're probably going to be behind. It's probably going to be ugly. But do we have Njoku news, or he's like one true questionable? I think he's questionable, right? Njoku?
I believe so, yeah. One thing I will say about Cleveland is that, I mean, they are projected for the most plays in the blitz game level factors. So that might be what's bringing up DTR's projection, which will bring up his ownership. So, but I don't really care for that play at all.
Incomplete passes stop the clock, which is part of the reason, I imagine. Shout out to the Phillies who just traded for Jesus Luzardo. He's really good. You're not going to believe it, but the Marlins just dumped another pitcher. Oh, the Marlins are the worst. They continue to be the worst. Got a couple prospects, but yeah, Phillies, good for them. All right. Let's see. Well, I guess let's not do the whole quarterback list. Let's kind of do cash game stuff.
Sure.
Running back, DraftKings. Is it a 3 running back week? I think ideally it is. That's what you want, I would imagine. Yes.
Yeah, I think running back's actually like the easiest position to fill out. I think there's really only four choices for cash games, and we'll talk about wide receiver because I think there's quite a few mid-range wide receivers that you could conceivably play, where that's really not the case at running back. Running back's really, really simple. You're playing Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, James Conner, or Chuba Hubbard. Those are your 4 options. I really would not go any differently than that in cash games. So I think that's a really simple and easy conversation to be had. Wide receivers, I think that's the hardest position to fill out because there are quite a few players kind of between the low 6s and low 5s that you could play in any format, cash games included. So I think that wide receiver is the more difficult conversation to be had.
Let's just pause that for a second. I just want to circle back to RB. Have you landed on 3 of the 4, or just like whichever 3 of the 4? Like you said, you want Gibbs in there, Brown, Conner, Hubbard. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that you welcome in the conversation. Yeah, I guess you want. I got recency bias against. I believed the Carolina Panthers. They got me. I thought they're going to take Dallas last week. The whole team was terrible. But they've been good beyond that the last couple games before Dallas went in there and beat them. It's just a little bit concerned, but maybe I should be forgiving. Hubbard is my least favorite amongst those 4, but he's also the cheapest amongst those 4, right? Gibbs, Brown, Conner, Hubbard. Is that the list of your priority as well?
Yeah, I mean, Hubbard would definitely be the last. I mean, that would only be if you really wanted to like pay up for a certain defense or pay up for a certain wide receiver. That would be the only way that I would play Hubbard. Or I guess if you really wanted to play Richardson and you kind of needed that, extra few $100s to get off of one of the other 3 running backs, but still Hubbard would rate dead last for me out of those 4.
I would also say, like, if I had the money and however the builds, you're probably not going to get there. You probably did something else wrong, but like I'd be okay if I had Bijan in cash, but like he just doesn't really fit the build. But like I don't know what you're doing to get Bijan in cash, right? Because he's more expensive than Gibbs, than Brown, than Chase. Well, that's the same person. Than Conner. But like again, if that's how you land, you probably did something else goofy. But in a vacuum. Like if you have money for Bijan, sure, of course. It's just I don't think he fits. He doesn't really fit the build. You mentioned receivers. Once again, we don't really have anybody like 4K-ish that we like. I don't think. You tell me. I guess like is relative. Playable. I'm seeing David Moore again, like Coker. These guys, on Carolina, no Leggett. I think Washington's kind of interesting for Miami. I'm curious to get Ebeimfohr's take. I know Ebeimfohr was touting that guy to start the season, and he's probably got a lot of best ball stuff in the league.
I had a ton of him in best ball. I'm fine if people want to roster him today. I would not do it in cash games though.
Yeah. I'm just sort of thinking about like cheap receivers, but you sort of alluded to it. Like the 5-ish K area is probably the strongest. Jennings is one of my favorite 5.9. I don't. I'm not playing cash today officially, but I'm just a little surprised. I kind of get it because the target share has been spectacular, but of course the person throwing the ball is kind of inept. But like Neighbors being the top guy is a little bit shaky.
He's my first guy in.
Okay, I mean, Drew Lock. Have you seen him play quarterback?
I have. I know it's really ugly, but I mean, 14 targets last week.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I think that's well within the realm of possible to have that happen again. 10 receptions. I'm going right back to Neighbors. He's my first guy in. I just think he's an absolute amazing play today. So it's 6,100. I think that's way too cheap. So he's my first guy in, and then I think it gets a little bit tricky. Like optimizers are going to give you a lot of DJ Moore. There's Brian Thomas Jr. There's Keenan Allen. There's Adam Thielen actually too, who I think is interesting in all formats. There's Jawan Jennings, like you already mentioned. There's DK Metcalf, Jacoby Myers, JSN, Drake London.
Myers is another one, by the way. I know he's projecting well, but I guess AOC is better than the nonsense they had out there last week. But it's a weird game, and I guess we can talk about that as well. With the Raiders, the Jags, there's some sexy pieces there. I don't know if sexy might be using that term liberally. But 41 total, and Mac Jones and AOC. And did we watch the Raiders last week? Again, I know it's a different quarterback. Thomas was awesome, and he's still looking great. Strange is going to be played heavily. Do you think it's a little weird that game's going to be kind of somewhat not the running backs, obviously. Nobody's playing the running backs, I don't think. But, Thomas is going to get some ownership. Strange might be the most popular tight end on the board. Bowers is an interesting contrarian play, but then Myers is projecting pretty well. I think actually Cardi has Myers projecting better than our numbers.
He does.
He loves Myers for whatever reason.
I'm just shooting out names that both our projections and the Blitz projections like quite a bit in this mid-range section because there's quite a few of them when you combine the two systems. So there's just so many guys that you could choose from in that mid range on DK. So and then there's also tournament guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., who was an absolute I know. Eventually he's going to catch some of these and he's going to have a massive game. I'm not playing him. I think he will.
He's running out of games.
Maybe not this season, Dean, but I think eventually.
This is DFS, Tim. We care about today.
Yeah. I think eventually he's going to bring down some of these catches. And then are we just going to give up on how cheap would Debo have to be for you to play him, Dean? How cheap? 3,500? Would you play him at 3,500?
Well, yeah, I'm going to play him at 35. Yeah, I'm willing to play anybody for the right price, and I would play him at 30. Yeah.
What about 45? What about 45?
Yes.
You would?
I know he's being fat shamed in the media, which is I'm not sure if you've seen that out there.
I have, yeah.
We did see him drop basically a pretty obvious touchdown pass. It was a tough weather game as well. That was the game where there's no touchdown score. He's been bad for a while. I think one of the better arguments you can make for Debo today, if you want to make an argument for Debo, is he's going to run the ball, right? Doesn't he have to run the ball today? The absence of Gorendo, Patrick Taylor, I guess, is their lead back. They have Juszczyk, the fullback du jour. They don't really have much, is the point. So maybe Debo will get some rushing yards. Shannon in chat says Debo is cheeks, and he's been cheeks. He has.
Yes, definitely. I 100% agree.
I think the other one that it's funny. I was on the Pick Six show. We were talking about all the players that are, if you're martingaling them, you're broke, right? And you can make an all martingale lineup. And Debo's on that lineup, right? Debo's one of those guys he's due, eventually. And sometimes it just like it falls fast. You know, he was one of the highest level athletes. He was always an outlier. Remember, he would break these ridiculous tackles, and he wasn't supposed to have the stats that he did. Right? He would just get these 70-yard runs in the open field, and it just wasn't supposed to happen. And whatever he had then, maybe he lost it. Maybe he's no longer that talent. But the price is interesting. I think Jennings is much better. I wouldn't play Debo and Cash.
Yeah, I don't have much of an argument with that. He's just so cheap. I mean, he's got to be in the tournament pool though, right? I mean, 5,200.
Well, I would play. No? Well, here's the thing: is that I would play similar conversation. I guess another receiver that's been passed by a younger option. He hasn't been as terrible. But he entered the season as the number one, and now he's very clearly not the number one. Who am I talking about?
DK Metcalf.
Yeah. And they're talking about getting him some throws. There's some good coach speak. If you buy the coach speak index is talking about it. They went very much out of their way to say, like, we have to get the ball to Metcalf. By the way, speaking of over, Lockett is 3.9, and I don't think I'd play Lockett at 3.9.
No, I would not either. Somehow I have two advancing teams in best ball.
Oh,
and I think that one of them has both has Debo and Lockett on it. I don't know how that team would advance so far, but somehow it has.
I have a CMC team that's still alive, and it's like, man,
wow,
that's a bummer.
That's brutal.
I'm pretty sure it moved on. Yeah, unless I didn't go through them, but I have like I got 4 on DK and maybe 3 on Underdog. I want to say, takes one, right? Just takes one. Didn't max out Underdog, but DK we did hit the 150. So I think I have a couple decent teams. But the annoying thing is, if you look at the currently winning stuff, it's I don't want to look at that because it's like, oh, currently winning $30,000, and it's like, and it's just like your best ball team's doing well. All of a sudden, my players are front loaded, and it's gonna fall back, and then. Now I'm not winning anything. That was what happened.
Right.
Yeah. So don't look at your currently winning stuff today. Chris Longo just randomly telling us that Jack Frost is on AMC. There you go. Do you have a favorite Christmas movie, Tim, or holiday movie, if you will?
Oh man.
Is there a tradition in the Buell household?
Well, the tradition in our household is to watch Home Alone. We always watch Home Alone.
Just the original, not you don't go with the sequels or
just the original.
TJ in chat telling us Die Hard. Yes, Die Hard, of course, is a Christmas movie. And Iron Man 3, which I don't know if I've seen Iron Man. I've seen at least one of the Iron Mans. Iron Men. Jingle All the Way. I lost a bet on a podcast and I was forced to watch Jingle All the Way, I think a year or two ago. Did not enjoy it. I probably would have liked it when I was 10, but as an adult, it's kind of a terrible movie. Have you seen Jingle All the Way with Arnold?
I have, yep. I have.
It's not,
Then there's I think there's like 1 or 2 with Billy Bob in them, right?
Bad Santa.
Bad Santa. I thought that was pretty good.
Sure, spectacular. Yeah. Was the second one called Bad Santa 2, or was it called like Batter Santa?
I can't remember.
The people are angry in chat now. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Sorry. Why would it not be a Christmas movie? Like, it's the theme throughout the entire movie. Like, of course it's a Christmas movie. I'm being told Goodfellas is a Christmas movie. I haven't thought about that, but okay. Mine, of course, is Eyes Wide Shut. You know that. I'm sure I've mentioned this once or twice. That's my favorite. We don't really gather the family around for that one, but probably would be a bad idea. All right. Anything else of note there popping up in chat? Is Chris watching Jack Frost? Is he watching it on mute and listening to us? I'm not really sure how it's working out, but I've not seen Jack Frost. I assume isn't that like Michael Keaton or something as Frosty? That sound right? So
I don't know if I've seen that one.
All right. So have you figured out like your receivers, or just kind of like whichever ones fit? That part saying planes, trains, and automobiles, that is a Thanksgiving movie. That's a Thanksgiving movie. It's not a Christmas movie. Spectacular movie for the record, but not Christmas.
I'm definitely playing Neighbors. The next two wide receiver spots are kind of in flux for me, but I'm locking in Neighbors right now in cash games. I don't know what I'm going to do with Brian Thomas Jr. I would like to be able to play him. These Bears wide receivers are really sketching me out. Moore or Allen. Like that whole game, man, is kind of tough. So I'm not really sure. What I'm going to be doing with that. And then you've got you've got the whole DK Metcalf, JSN, Drake London, Jacoby Myers. All these guys I've mentioned are really in play for cash games as well as tournaments. So I'm not really sure exactly what I'm doing. I will say, though, that I am locking in Malik Neighbors.
So, Tim, I have the ability to give you I can't give you like the full box score, but I can tell you the final score. I have a Magic 8 Ball, or I have Mr. Predicto, I have a Gray Sports Almanac. I got something where I can tell you the final score of a game. And Chad answered this question too. Just the final score. I feel like I want to really know how many points the Bears score, because I feel like that can go. I think they can put up like 35. I feel like they put up like 7. And the other one I would want to know the final score of, and I'm cheating because I guess I'm saying 2. I think San Fran Miami can kind of get busy. I think that's the game that's sort of the sneaky one.
I agree.
Do you have an answer? Like if you have access, you can just see the final score of one game. Which one game would you want that of?
Like, who do I think is going to score the most points?
No. Not who do you think? I'm saying before you make, like, if you can make your lineups knowing the final score of one game, which game would you pick?
New England and Buffalo.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Well, I want to know how many points Josh Allen's going to score.
Well, Buffalo's going to score 42 points, and everybody's going to be worthless but jump with Josh Allen.
But that's, if it's 42, then I know I want to pay up for Josh Allen.
Okay, but would you pair him, or would you play him naked? What would you do with it?
Naked.
That's hilarious. They score 42 points, and you still wouldn't pair him with anybody, and that's not necessarily wrong.
I think the chalk answer is Detroit-Chicago, but there's one game that I'd really like to know is Minnesota-Seattle, because I really think that Seattle can have success here, and then I think you could bring it back with a really, really low-owned Aaron Jones or Justin Jefferson. So that's like one contrarian game, kind of like we were talking about the Miami-San Francisco game. I think this Minnesota-Seattle game is going to be pretty strong for large field GPPs. So I would like to know the score of that game before it starts.
I'm just going to have a hard time getting to guys like Jefferson and Jamar Chase, I think. And just sort of the way that you were talking as far as build. But
I mean, I'm building a cash game though, right? So I mean, I think Chase is a fantastic GPP play.
Sure.
So it's you're gonna have to fade one of these premium running backs is the bottom line in tournaments, because if you don't, you're just playing a cash game team. So like if you go Penix, Connor, Brown, Gibbs, you're essentially making the cash game shell. So, I mean, you're really going to have to get really off the board with your wide receiver pieces. One way to do that is to go up to Chase and then down to some really, really cheap play. So, yeah, I mean, I really like Chase in tournaments.
I think a simple way to get, especially if you're in a small field, to get different enough with Penix in the cash game shell, is play his receivers with him, double stack them. Just like Mooney, McLeod, London, they're all cheap enough. If you double stack with Penix, even with the chalk running backs, I think that'll be different enough.
Would you consider going Bijan as a stacking partner? Do you count Bijan as a stacking partner? So. Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think that. I mean, that'll still be different because nobody's playing Bijan today. So, I'm playing. I have one lineup I think is. Like, this is a large field one, but I have one lineup. I think that's Penix, Bijan, Mooney, and McLeod.
Can we answer season-long questions here, Tim? I see Shannon's got a season-long question. Love AOC Penix. I mean, you're supposed to play Love, aren't you supposed to play?
Yeah, you're definitely playing Love if you're only picking one out of those.
I think you're supposed. The tricky part is, they're a 14-point home favorite. You have the the hope. You have hope until Monday night, so that has some value to it as well. They play Monday night, so you're not dead until Monday night.
Right.
It's one of those. It's a tricky setup. Again, part of the several games in the slate are like that, where it's like the Bengals. Like Burrow could throw for 3 touchdowns and 200 in the first half, and going to end up with 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like that's possible, right?
Yep.
I think the answer is, and the wild card, of course, is Penix. I think you're supposed to play Love. And what do they say? Like, you just play your guys. You're not supposed to get cute when it comes to the playoffs. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that decision is pretty clearly going with Love.
I think that's what you're supposed to do. They're talking about the weather in Seattle. I dropped Ross weather reports. I can go ahead and read this. It's not that long. It is a very wet day in Seattle. The driest part of the day, maybe the roughly around game time, but even then, you are looking at scattered showers with the potential for some moderate to heavy rain at times. I can't truly give many specifics until it's closer to kickoff and I can look at radar. Until then, we'll just go with scattered showers likely, which is pretty standard for Seattle. And again, this is 7 hours away, right? So Roth can only do so much right now, but it's something to keep an eye on. And I try not to overreact about weather. Wind is the biggest deterrent, but a wet ball is not necessarily something we want either. Just, I guess, something to keep an eye on, I suppose, right? Are you freaking out just yet? I'm not freaking out. And there's also four games, I think, at 4 o'clock, right? We have Patriots, Bills, Minnesota, Seattle. I think Miami plays a later game. Yeah, Seattle, San Fran at Miami, and then the Jags at the Raiders. If you need
wind is the biggest factor. Rain's not that big a deal.
Yeah, unless it's really excessive, right?
Yeah, unless it's really true.
But we'll see. Stay tuned. Yeah, start your studs is what I was looking at. Thank you, Ryan. That's the line. I guess that's the old Matthew Berry line. And I still dabble in the season long stuff, but I don't consider myself a season long expert per se. All right. Tight end for cash. We're still talking cash, right? Tight end for cash. It's it's strange, right? You're just playing strange. You got to save some salary, and that's that on TK.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the easiest choice. Really, is just to go strange at in cash games. Obviously, there's different ways you can go about it in GPPs, but strange is your cash game tight end. Are they going to let Trey McBride score a touchdown this week, Dean?
They're trying. They are trying their best. They're openly talking about it. And I could be wrong, but I think Kyler has never thrown a touchdown pass to McBride dating back to last season, right? I don't think.
Wow.
I don't think he threw a touchdown to him last year either because he was hurt for a good chunk of the year. Right. I might be making that. Somebody confirm that in chat, or TJ confirmed that. Somebody confirm that. But this season he has 90 catches or so. And if you were watching the game, the portion that I saw on Red Zone, they did the old Travis Kelce tight end fake misdirection pitch on the 1 yard line. They tried that with McBride, didn't work. They're doing their best. Murray tweeted out or Instagrammed out or something, social media wise, basically saying we're going to get him in the box soon. It's happening. And you can't just push a button and say yes, this guy scores, but that's what they're trying to do. They're well aware of the record, infamous record, I suppose, of him having the most receptions without getting in the end zone. Now he's gotten in twice, once via the legs, running it in, and he recovered a fumble in the end zone. So he does have 2 touchdowns, but he's yet to catch a touchdown, and it's still plus 130. I was looking at the odds. Vegas is expecting it. The odds are not that long. It's funny. Shannon's talking about Murray sucks. That's why. I wanted to talk about Murray Wheat, the quarterbacks, because he's going to be one of the more popular guys. Good, good matchup, but he's been kind of terrible this season, and the legs have not been what you want them to be either. It's just not. It's not spectacular. There's not a huge opportunity cost today at quarterback, outside of I guess Josh Allen. I suppose Hurts can do something. Daniels can do something. Let's let's move on from cash. So, is there anything else to mention? Like, I love McBride for tournaments, and I haven't messed around with the idea of it, but I'm not opposed to, Strange and McBride in the same lineup if you're going to go double tight end.
I saw quite a few optimals with Strange and McBride.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not doing that, but or at least in cash, I'm not doing that. But I could definitely see it. No, definitely not in cash.
Anything else of note that we should mention as far as cash games, or shall we discuss circle back to quarterbacks?
I think we should go back to quarterback.
Yes. Creep is asking, how is Penix with wet balls? Well, we don't have to worry about that, of course, because Penix is in a dome. I don't know why you'd ask that question. I can't imagine why you'd ask about that quarterback specifically, about that potential obstacle. Yeah, tournaments. Let's talk tournaments. Do we like, Penix in tournaments? Is he a good fade? I think if you don't play him, I think Bijan is an awesome sort of pivot, right? If you want to do that. You can play them together as well. But yeah, I've kind of made it clear that Bijan's one of my favorite plays on the board. You can also, if you kind of go through the game logs, same thing with Hurts and Barkley. Now it's going to cost you, but like one of those guys, you get a ceiling game out of them almost every single game, right? Is the ball gonna, they're gonna get to the 1 yard line? Then it's Jalen Hurts. And if it's gonna be a home run from Barkley, then that's Barkley. That's how they're scoring their touchdowns. But let's talk quarterbacks. And Murray, I feel like, has fallen back a little bit. He's currently 4th on the board, ownership wise. He's got a couple dots. Some people like him here, amongst Noto and Chopper and Christy and Bobby and Eric and Neil and Maddock. Tournament quarterbacks. What is and you're only making 4 or 5 lineups, give or take, if that?
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna make 3.
Have we decided who our tournament quarterbacks are?
Well, the issue is Caleb Williams. He's showing up as the highest opto in Sims that I just ran, and I really don't like it. But the next best is Anthony Richardson, who's going to be pretty highly owned, which I don't love either. And then we've got Kyler and Penix. I honestly think that I am going to get to one of my teams is going to have Aaron Rodgers in it. He's been really good coming off the bye. He's 5,600. He's showing up pretty good positive leverage in Sims. So I don't think enough people are going to go back to Rodgers. So I think Rodgers is a really, really strong pivot.
I think I'm just going to play Adams, and I think that kind of covers Rodgers.
Sure.
But I'm not saying you can't. Yeah, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't. But I think that's my plan on that. But he's pretty cheap, and, you got to give him the due. He's been racking up the yards, and, whatever sort of motivation there is these days, they're a dead team. But, Adams is his buddy. We saw last week 1 yard touchdown pass to Adams in the goal line, old school Packer stuff, right? I like it. I don't know if I'm gonna get the Rodgers. I'm fine doing it. He's cheap enough, but I think Adams has kind of separated himself from Wilson before they could flip any time, I suppose. But is that where you're at as well? If you're only gonna have one, are you gonna run doubles, or you're not sure?
I'm probably gonna run doubles.
Okay.
That's probably what I'm going to do. But I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think I'm going to go with the Rodgers double.
Any run back for the Rams? Can you afford Puka?
If you could afford it, it would be Puka. And then I think if you can't, I think Cooper Kupp coming off that goose egg is a really intriguing play. Getting to a lot of Kupp in Sims. So I don't think a lot of people are going to go back to him just because of that 0 he took in that really ugly game against San Francisco. So Puka's obviously the better play, but I think he's also going to be the higher owned play. So I wouldn't fault anybody. Or it's not a great matchup, but I think you could run it back with Kyron.
Yeah. I saw somebody mention him in chat as well, and for sure. He can always, he obviously takes a big chunk of that backfield. And he's not going to be as owned as 4, 5, 6 of those other RBs we talked about. I did pull up the SimLabs stuff, optimal versus projected ownership, and the number one guy. And a lot of times this is kind of sort of somewhat inverse of ownership, right? Sometimes Rodgers is number one as far as optimal versus projected ownership. Then Bryce Young. I think Brock Purdy is a really interesting one because, I know that Shanahan has done wonders with running backs you've never heard of, taking them off the street, if you will, a practice squad, if you will, and just all of a sudden, who's this stud? Guarendo looks spectacular. I don't think Taylor is that kind of talent. I don't know. But I don't think maybe they just say, screw it. Let's just chuck it. Let's just throw the ball a ton. We don't really have to establish Taylor or Juszczyk or give Debo, 7, 8, 9 carries. Maybe Purdy just throws the ball a ton, right? And I could see that happening. And it's tricky because Debo, there's a stench on him. Kittle's just expensive, but when he has those outlier games, it's going to be pretty unowned. He's right there with, Smith for Miami a little bit more on the other side, and then McBride and Bowers are both going to be. I think they're both going to be ahead of Kittle. Well, Bowers is another guy. It's not going to get a ton of ownership, but Jennings, I like Purdy for tournaments because it's a smart coaching staff over there. Maybe they just say, screw it. Let's just throw it 50 times. Not 50, but you know what I mean.
The 49ers have been eliminated, correct? I'm pretty sure.
Both these teams are still mathematically alive, barely hanging on.
They are. Really?
They're basically dead, but they're mathematically alive.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless something changed yesterday that I missed.
No, you're right. I just looked it up on NFL.com.
Yeah, Rob says officially no, but realistically yes.
Yeah.
So they're.
I'm reading the percentages, and that is correct.
Yeah.
So,
they need a lot of goofy things to happen.
They're
not officially eliminated.
Correct.
Probably will be at the end of the week, or if not.
The Dolphins would go up to 10% with a win.
What a weird season for them. There was thought that Tua might not even. Well, he might retire. There was thought he wouldn't retire. Might not even come back this year. But yeah, he's been pretty good since coming back. That O-line is still a problem. And maybe Achane benefits from that because he caught 7 or 8 passes last week with the O-line just collapsing and just emergency dump offs and some scripted stuff as well. But I guess that kind of leads to a different conversation as far as Tua and Tyreek is 6'9". There's no Waddle. We mentioned Malik Washington. I think Malik Washington's one of the more interesting players under 4K. If you really want to get goofy, Craycraft. That's a little too goofy for me. I would go Washington. I don't make enough lineups, but I was making 150. If I was playing the Million Maker, maybe Craycraft works his way in. That's why I think that game could be really interesting. Taylor, by the way, we should mention, and I see somebody in chat. Yeah, Lord Kangaroo is talking about Taylor is much more playable on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. He's 5'2" on DK, and the difference between Taylor and running backs we love is 1K. I know it's tight, but we'll just find it. That's sort of where I'm at.
Yeah.
But on FanDuel, he's in the 4s. I want to say he's 4'7". You can, if you can get a usable player in the 4s, 4'8". I misspoke, but still, same sort of point.
Yeah, it's still the same thing.
Opportunity cost at running back, yada, yada, but still. Was he hitting optimals, Taylor, on FanDuel? Let me run some stuff. Do you know if he was? Are you playing cash over there?
I'm not playing cash, but I did run Sims. I'm going to have to run it again, though.
Yeah. And if you're playing Penix, well, we'll see. You probably don't need Taylor, I don't think. Let's see what gets spit out as far as I try to appease FanDuel and DraftKings as well. So Penix is coming in at 34%, Burrow 15, Allen 11, Richardson 7, Hurts 6, and the running back situation: Gibbs, Brown, Hubbard, Taylor 28%. So yeah, Connor's a little bit more expensive over there. He's 8.4. So I think James Conner is more of a tournament guy on FanDuel.
I'm only getting to 12% of Taylor on FanDuel.
And Dowdle looks pretty good too. Dowdle coming in at 19% in that night game. Kind of wish we had that game in the main slate for DK.
Me too.
Really like Evans. I love Evans today.
I was going to say McMillan.
McMillan? He's been good too. Yeah. And Baker's been great.
And Baker. I know. I mean, it's really a completely different slate on FanDuel, just because you have that really, really juicy Sunday night game. So I really don't mind getting. I mean, like you said, Evans is the top play easily, but I don't mind Jalen McMullen. Don't mind that at all. And then obviously Rico, he's projecting and simming quite well.
Do want to mention Splash Sports if you guys are not aware. If you have not signed up at Splash Sports, now is the time. Why is now the time? We got a promo code for you. It's Roto10. When you play $100 in quick picks, you'll get another $50. And if you're not sure, you make your deposit, you get your quick picks, you're not sure who to play, we have a video to help you get there. And TJ is going to play it right now.
What up, everybody? Chop here with another parlay for Splash Sports Quick Picks here in the NFL. Starting off with Jerry Jeudy, under the 62.5 receiving yards. And no Jameis Winston, I'm out on Jerry Jeudy. So that's the bottom line on that one. Next pick, I'm going a little narrative street here. Trey McBride, over the 68.5 yards. Kyler Murray came out and said he's going to get the ball to him this week even more. He's going to try to get him a touchdown. I'll settle for the yards. I'm going Trey McBride over the 68.5 on Splash Sports. Don't forget, play $100 in quick picks this week and get $50 free using the promo code ROTO10. Till next week, I'm Chop. I'm out of here.
Let's build a little card over there. I like Chop's picks, actually. I like McBride a lot today. I like betting against that Cleveland passing offense. Maybe we can have TJ pull up a card we can build. I know we built one last week. Somebody chat, let us know if that worked out. I felt like it was good. I know. I remember like at least 2/3 of it was strong. Obviously, you got to get to. You can't.
I know mine hit.
Oh well, there you go. Well, what are you saying to TJ?
The longest rush did not hit last week.
Oh yeah, it didn't. Yeah, the rare time. He did not break a long one. What's that number this week? It's probably even longer because he's anticipated to give him more touches. Maybe 18.5 now. It's probably something goofy. Is it 18.5? Is that what I'm seeing? Is that something else? 20.5? I think it's 20.5.
20.5. Yeah, sorry.
All right. You disappeared on me. I thought we were.
I didn't realize I disappeared on you. I was nodding, and I just didn't realize I wasn't actually on the screen.
No worries. Do we like it at 20.5? That is a big number. That's a big number.
I still think he's probably going to do it, but I don't know if we need to be betting it.
Do you like anything? Actually, I know Tim. I don't know if you have something ready to go, TJ, but I know Tim had something he was talking about pre-show.
Ford gives longest rush is 17.5 on Underdog for what it's worth. If anybody wants to get that,
I like that. Yeah, that's
so
shop
around. I would do the Jerome Ford under 53.5 rushing yards. I got that straight from our picks sheet for Prize Picks and Splash Sports. So that's
props
great from props and pick 'em. That's our top bet today.
It might have dropped. Did it drop to 51.5? Did you say 53?
Oh no, it dropped to 51. Darn.
It's still fine, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
But you want to get ideally you want to get this stuff like earlier in the week.
Yeah, it's still greater than 5% edge at 51.5, so that's fine.
TJ, you got something you want to add to the card?
Yeah, I'm looking at the picks that I already have in right now just to see if any of my favorites can be doubled up upon. I like Rico Dowdle higher than 11 receiving yards today. Let's see what we can get Dowdle at.
That's pretty low.
It's been up to 14.5 receiving yards. Okay, maybe we can leave that one. Let's look at Puka Nacua. Jets have been absolutely shredded by wide receiver ones. I think I like Puka Nacua over 87.5 yards today.
There you go. So is that Ford under Gibbs? Well, we're not doing the Gibbs one, right? Are we laying off Gibbs here or no? Do we still play him?
We have him off right now, but depends what you guys want to do. If we want to put him in, we can put him in.
Yeah. I mean, I just wish, I wish it wasn't this. It's 19.5. Or is it 20.5 or 19.5? Either way, it's
20.5.
Yeah. And his second run of the game is going to be for 27 yards.
Wow.
It's not going to matter. What do you
That's
got?
the smash of smashes right there. Brian Thomas, more than 5.5 receptions.
That seems pretty good.
Let's do it. So we got Jerome Ford less than 51.5, Puka Nacua more than 87.5, and then Brian Thomas more than 5.5 receptions.
What is AOC's passing yards? Is it still 244.5?
Let's see.
I see our projections are 235.5 for what it's worth.
Yeah.
238.5.
All right, never mind.
Were you thinking under?
Yeah.
Yeah. This stuff gets more and more. The edges, kind of squeeze a little bit as we close and unlock. As more people, football's on today. I'm gonna play some football stuff. Well, try to be early. Try to be early on it if you can, and get some closing line value. It's definitely to your benefit. And a lot of times, it's those 2 or 3 yards that make the difference between winning or losing. I believe Al Pacino had a big quote in the locker room about that. It's a game of inches. I don't know if you recall. Any given Sunday, anybody? not a Christmas movie, but a very good football movie. Very good football movie. Oliver Stone. It's Jamie Foxx famously got into a fight with LL Cool J on set. It's worth checking out. Somebody in chat will confirm.
You can still get AOC at 244.5 on DK. So I'm gonna take the under on that right now.
Give me your assessment as far as running backs for tournaments. We talked about cash. We're still playing Gibbs in tournaments, I think, right? Who cares?
Oh, definitely still playing Gibbs in tournaments. I don't think that, his opto rate is really, really high. So I'm really not concerned about him. He is going to be popular, though. So if you add in another one of those super popular running backs, which you can do, just pay attention to the rest of your team. You're going to have to get contrarian somewhere else. I mean, obviously, you can eat some chalk. It's the reason they are chalk is that they are standout plays. So if you go Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, I would try to get off some ownership in the wide receiver and tight end spots because you're going to be, obviously playing 2 super high owned running backs. I think if you pay up at any position other than running back, you're going to be contrarian. So if you pay up at quarterback, if you pay all the way up at running back, if you pay all the way up at wide receiver, that is going to be the contrarian build today. As weird as that sounds. So like if you go up to Saquon or Bijan, you are going to be you're going to be different. So I mean I don't really want to go like for running back. There really isn't any like super cheap running back that I have any interest in. I don't really have interest in Jerome Ford. I thought that we might be getting Tajay Spears, but that sounds like that's not going to be happening.
No,
I'm kind of glad. I'm kind of glad
he's going to play, but he's not.
He's going to play.
Unleashed,
yeah, and I'm kind of glad that didn't happen because then you'd have to get off one of these super strong running backs. It's I don't know. It's just I don't really like any like Madison is projecting decently. I saw him in some optimals, and it was like I'm not. Same thing with DeAndre Swift. He doesn't project all that poorly either.
Rashawn Johnson's back, which kind of annoys
exactly
me.
Right. Yeah, it's like I don't really have any interest in that. Like I don't think I'd be going below probably 62 or maybe 64 at running back.
they're talking about Breece Hall and just like,
yeah, I saw that comment in chat. Like, I don't really like it that much. I prefer the passing game for the Jets. I kind of think that
so do I.
I kind of think that Hall is still hurt. I know that they want to play them because he's going to be low owned, which is true. He will be low owned, but I think there are better running backs to go to that will also be very low owned.
We're projecting Hall for 12 rushes, Davis for 4, Allen for 4 and change. It's just it's all three are probably going to play.
Yeah,
you're not going to get. I shouldn't say not. It's really hard to anticipate 25 touches out of Breece Hall. It's hard to get 20 probably out of Breece Hall. It doesn't make a lot of sense for it to happen. I know they have an interim coach that, probably wants to play his best players, right? Make a case to stick around, but I'm not getting there. I think there's other routes that are just as low owned, right? It just doesn't seem very necessary to me. But, I'm not here to talk to anybody. Brian Robinson, nobody's going to play. Just players people aren't going to play. Like, he's not going to get played. He's fine. I know the matchup's not spectacular with Philly. Doesn't really catch the ball either, which is kind of an issue. The Bills play 3 running backs, right? Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis. Again, it's just really, really hard to figure them out. Walker also expected back, in case you guys missed it, if you're wondering why we're not talking about Charbonnet anymore. I don't know what the distributions there is going to be, but I think they both kind of sort of kill each other. But, ownership's not going to be there either. Like, nobody's playing. We have Walker at 12 rushes, Charbonnet at 6 and change. So, but like in theory, if Walker was perfectly fine and he's like 3% owned, right? Like, that's a good play. And who knows how much they'll play him, because Seattle, you still have your page up. Seattle's still fighting for a playoff spot. They're still trying. They're still trying to get there. I don't know if I make enough laps to get there. Maybe I'll pivot to them later if my team's in desperation and like the 1:00 games didn't work out for me. And if I have chalk stuff, like, okay, well, I better try something goofy. Otherwise, I got no chance because I'm blocked everywhere else.
Right. Yep.
So
I don't mind that if you want to like late swap onto Walker, but initially I would not be rostering Walker on the slate.
Tyler says, can I get a Jonathan Taylor take? If you want to tell a story, I don't really like picking on the Titans, and Richardson's going to be somewhat popular. It is weird because Jonathan Taylor has the backfield all to himself, and like, we just don't care. It's just like, whatever. And we love running backs at the backfield all to themselves. But, he's due for redemption, right? Like, he had the most disastrous play in football last week, I think.
That was so bad.
And you could argue it cost his team the game. And whatever. If you want a redemption arc, I'm sure he feels terrible about it. He's gonna have opportunities for sure. He's not gonna get played, really.
I'd much rather play him than Hall. Right?
Yes.
Like we know JT's gonna get all the work. So if you want to go that angle, I don't have a problem with that at all. Projecting for 9% ownership. Hall's projecting for 6. So I mean, I'd much rather play JT.
It's also kind of an Eagle situation, right? Where touchdowns get siphoned at the goal line by the other quarterback sometimes. Not to the same degree with Hurts, because it's possible Taylor can get a 1-yard touchdown, but it's basically not possible that Saquon can get a 1-yard touchdown. And I tried it once, it didn't work. But I think Taylor's in the tournament pool. And I 100% like him more than Breece Hall. To your point, by the way, as far as spending up outside of running back is like the way to be different. Josh Allen, 2-3% owned. Jalen Hurts, 2-3% owned. Jaden Daniels, 1 or 2% owned. The running back stuff as far as spending up, you're sort of talking about. Barkley's going to be at 10%. Bijan, we got Bijan at 16. We'll see. I guess Barkley's the big one there. Taylor at 10%. And then that's a good segue to receiver. The most expensive receivers, and I guess he's still going for that triple crown, right? Jamar Chase, 13%. Puka at 8. Jefferson at 6. Dollar for dollar.
Look at Amon-Ra.
Yeah, coming off one of his best games of his career. I know he was in the
Right.
dome and they were coming back and all that kind of stuff, but 4% own we're looking at against the Bears. And we're not afraid of the Bears defense.
AJ Brown gonna be 5%. Basically, if you one off any of these big name wide receivers, your lineup construction is going to be completely different than the field.
So talk about receivers as far as tournament stuff, and like, how do we feel about you? I know you said you like Neighbors and Cash. Is he somebody you feel good about in tournaments, assuming he's going to be? And again, it's pretty flat. 22% is not a huge number for the most popular receiver. That's what we're seeing. DJ Moore, 20%. Both guys, and I think there's some uncomfort levels for rostering them. Thomas for Jacksonville, bad total game, but he's getting all the targets. Mac Jones is not horrific. We saw him have some big games last year as far as passing. Metcalf at 16%. I like Jennings a lot at 5'9". And that's kind of that mid-tier, right? 6'1", Neighbors, 5'7" Moore, 6'3" Thomas, 5'5" Metcalf, 5'9" Jennings. And then Devontae is the most popular, bigger spend at 7'1", around 15%. Then Chase, then Thielen, then Keenan Allen. How are you attacking that? And then give me the single-digit guys you like.
Yeah, so Jamar Chase is my favorite overall wide receiver play. Reserved only for GPPs. I don't think he's a cash game play just because of the build today. But Jamar is definitely I think has the highest ceiling of any wide receiver. Even if he comes in 13% owned, I don't really care. I think that's fine. It's actually, I don't know if you saw who has the best leverage score. That would be Deebo Samuel. Yeah. So,
of course,
yeah, but Jamar is my favorite spend up. I would probably could only use him as a one-off, just because there are those running backs that I do want to play even in single entry. So at least play two of those guys in single entry. Devontae would be my next favorite of the more expensive options, followed by Puka Nacua, who's showing a really nice positive leverage right now. So he's showing up in the optimals 12.5% of the time. He's only going to be projected to be owned around 8%. So that's really good positive leverage. The highest optimal rate is DJ Moore, and that just makes me really nervous. He's showing with a lot of ownership too. The Bears, I'll just say it. The Bears make me really, really nervous, and they make me nervous to play them, and it makes me nervous to fade them because right now I'm leaning towards fading them at least in single entry, but I mean that could absolutely completely backfire. So I don't know. I guess if Caleb Williams beats me, he beats me, and that's how I'm going to play the slate. So. Right now, I'm not going to be playing the Allens or DJ Moore, but if people want to go that way, I certainly wouldn't fault them. But yeah, Chase is definitely my favorite spend up at the wide receiver position.
Chris in chat says McMillan or Evans. Well, I mean, their salary is a thing, right? I mean,
yeah,
I want Evans, but how much is it going to cost me as far as the rest of my lineup?
Yeah, I gotta see the exact pricing difference here. 88 for Evans,
which is kind of pricey,
and it's 58 for McMillan.
He's probably the better dollar for dollar play until Mike Evans gets 150 and 2.
It's so nice though at FanDuel to get those TDs, which is Evans. That's Evans' jam,
That's what he does.
That's what he does. So,
back in Texas.
Yeah, I would say I would just pay up for Evans, just because the touchdowns are so valuable on FanDuel.
Donnie says, I don't understand how Mac Jones is 2% while Thomas and Strange are 20%. Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Yep,
he'll probably be higher than 2% just for that reason. Just the way people, especially the way people set up their stacks and work lineup HQ and things of that sort, optimizers. He probably will be over 2%.
I think that's a pretty good take by Donnie.
Ownership has not been updated today. I think it was done in the middle of the night. Of course, it'll be updated at some point soon. If not on our show, it'll be updated with Erik and Neil. Erik and Neil coming in 10, 15 minutes or so. This show just it flies by, Tim. It just flies right by. What do we think of Pittman today? Has Pittman been somebody I needed to roster like once this season?
I would, if you're looking for a Colts wide receiver, I'd rather it be Downs. Like if you're looking to pair somebody with Anthony Richardson, I would go Downs.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna force the pairing, but yeah, I'm okay with that. Trying to think of the other options. Mitchell's probably not gonna. Do we have a favorite? I don't know if favorite's the right word, but like the receiver you're most likely to use in that 4K area. Again, it's pretty rough.
I like Washington.
So do I. I think that's my favorite too.
Yeah. I don't even want to say this person's name out loud.
Give me a hint.
No, I don't want to. I don't mind Wandale at 41. Oh. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't thought about him in a while. He's 4-1 now. Okay.
Yeah, but I would still prefer going to Washington. And what is this Carolina wide receiver situation? Are Coker and Moore both in, and Leggett is out? Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, because I don't think that Coker or Moore are horrible plays in large field GPPs. So we're actually showing Moore with more ownership than Washington, which I'm surprised by. So I don't mind one of those Carolina cheapies in a large field set. But yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad in terms of value.
Samuel says Patrick for the Lions. He's been pretty good of late.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah, he's 4-5 now, so a little bit more expensive, but I guess he's earned it. Ridley is pretty cheap on FanDuel, by the way. I think he's 5.9 over there. So quarterback change there to Rudolph. If you want a narrative, Rudolph Christmas, probably an upgrade, right? Levis was such a disaster, right? I assume Rudolph is an upgrade, I guess, by default, if nothing else. At worst, it's a lateral move.
Coker on FanDuel is 5,200. He's actually showing up in a lot of optimals right now. So I think Coker's a decent value play on FanDuel as well.
David Moore, you're talking about the Carolina stuff, and like, why? If Carolina do they have any interest in developing David Moore? Like, no, right? Like,
no.
Shouldn't they want to see Coker on the field? I just amongst those two, and I guess maybe they want Thielen out there just because you want like a professional receiver with your possible quarterback in the future, and then so that makes sense too. But the Moore thing, they've seen enough, right? He's going to be out there, but I guess I'm just thinking like Coker's going to play more than Moore, I think. But that's just me guessing.
I would guess that's correct.
Because David Moore is a 30-year-old journeyman and not a part of the Carolina Panthers. When the Carolina Panthers are theoretically good, whenever that's going to be, I don't know. I'll tell you this: David Moore is not in that team. He's not. Right. He's not going to be on that team. And Coker might not be, and Young might not be as well. I'm not sure, but I feel pretty confident that David Moore is not there. Marco's saying Coker officially questionable. I think he was ruled in. I think he was maybe like a Schefter tweet or something like that. I think he's officially questionable on the sites, right? But the expectations are you get actives and inactives, and 11:30 on the East Coast. I think we had a Schefter tweet that said he's likely to play.
Yeah, he's expected to play as of 12:17 this morning.
Yeah. One of those in the middle of the night tweets.
Yeah.
So the sites are generally behind on that stuff. Like use social media stuff way before they use like DraftKings and FanDuel. They typically are behind a little bit when it comes to player news. Anybody else throw out another cheap receiver in chat? There's not a lot. Not a lot. I'm doing like I'm sorting by point per dollar, trying to find somebody. that might be interesting. And our best point per dollar plays is Moore and Neighbors. And you know what's wild? Jamar Chase is the third.
I didn't even realize that. I didn't even realize that about Chase. Wow.
Isn't that bonkers? No, paying for him is tricky.
He's going to smash.
Oh, one more I wanted to ask about, and this is somebody that I've been kind of picking on all year. I don't know if picking on is the right word, but if I told you can get Tyreek Hill at 6'9" without Waddle, like, you know, I told you this like 2 months ago. I know he's dealing with a wrist, whatever. Like, shouldn't we be interested in Tyreek? I never advocate for him, but I feel like this is a good spot for him. And he's just kind of too cheap. I know a lot of people are just fed up. He had a big game versus the Jets. That was the game that went overtime. That game just shot out. Almost 60 points scored there. Do you have a Tyreek take?
I would do it as part of a game stack. I don't think I would do it as like a one-off. There's so many good plays in that low 7, low 6 range. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he's going to be this low owned is pretty amazing. But still, I still think there's something potentially wrong with him.
Yeah.
So
maybe.
I don't know. But you know, like if you're going to get to some pieces of like to a double or some San Francisco wide receivers running it back with Hill, I think it's completely fine.
Chris is asking any of Dunzier. The tricky part there, and that's another reason why the Bears are sort of annoying, is I don't know which receiver to pair. I guess you could do doubles, right, with Caleb. But Moore and Allen are more popular than a Dunzier, and he's like 1%. So that's one way to be a little bit different with your Caleb stack. And he's kind of the home run hitter as well. Like he gets the uncatchable balls thrown his way. But sure, if that's how you want to do it, you know. But understand his floor is rough.
I think you make a really good point. If you want to play a Caleb double, I would do it with one of them being Rome, because if you go a Caleb double with Moore and Allen, that's going to be a really, really popular double. So just pivoting to Rome for one of those other spots, I think is a really solid GPP play.
Tight end, got a few minutes on tight end. Bowers, it's just Bowers 3-4% ownership. McBride about 14% ownership. The field 21% on Strange. It's important to note that Strange is like not a nobody. He was a second round pick, right? He comes in with some draft capital, some draft equity, playing the Ingram role, which has been pretty good in a dome. Again, that game that has a 41 total, it's going to have some popular pieces in it. But beyond that, you know, Strange, McBride, people are going to pay off Jonnu, I guess. You know, he's worked his way up to 5.5 on DK, rightfully so for the most part. Hunter Henry I've seen thrown out there. Laporta, okay, I guess. Gesicki as a cheapie. I have a hard time getting excited about Gesicki. How goof are you getting at tight end? Because I think my pool is pretty small, unless, you know, I want to pair him with a quarterback or something like that. But I'm probably sticking with the chalk stuff and just getting different elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I do like Hunter Henry quite a bit. I do like him on FanDuel even more. But I think he's a strong play on both sites. But yeah, Strange is going to be the obvious chalk. I'm not really sure. He's probably somebody that I would get away from in single entry, just because he's going to be so high owned,
like 40% possibly.
Yeah, exactly. So I love Brock Bowers. Like, he's going to be very, very low owned today. He's somebody that you could go in your util spot. Like, his usage is so high. It is an upgrade getting AOC back as well. And then we've already talked about McBride. I think Sam Laporta at 4,700 is an exceptionally good GPP play. I'm trying to think if there's any other cheapies that I would play like in that low 3 or high 2 range. Maybe Chig, maybe at 3,400. Yeah. I don't love that though. I'm not really seeing any real nice, like lower price than strange pivots for GPPs.
I'm not either.
Yeah. So I think you got to go up.
Conklin, if you're playing Rodgers, I guess Conklin, but it's that's probably only a Rodgers thing, and you need doubles, and you don't have money for Wilson or something like that.
Right.
But I'm just trying to make something happen. I really got nothing for you.
So I think the bottom line is if you're going to fade Strange, I'd go up from him.
All right. Favorite? Would you play AOC possibly in one of your 5 lineups, one of your 3 lineups, or no? You mentioned like you like Bowers. Is he somebody
like
you
Bowers?
And Myers double, possibly.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't think so. He's not currently on my 3 max list.
Is it dumb to like stack the 41 total game? Is that just a bad idea?
Well, it's supposed to be dumb, but I mean it's actually rating out really well.
Yeah.
So I mean it is supposed to be dumb to do that, but Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, Bowers, go with a Matt Jones or an AOC. I've seen a little bit of Abdullah as well in optimals.
Yeah,
which is I think a little bit of a stretch on this slate, and then you have Strange as well. So I mean, you do have really, really condensed targets on both these teams, which is awesome for DFS, right? So it does make sense that this game is rating out pretty well. It does seem pretty ugly though.
I'm pulling up the the running back situation. I want to see our projections for. It just feels like a mess. I saw somebody in chat asking about Abdullah as well, and I'm pretty sure he caught a bunch of passes because they were behind last game, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess if your game script is that the Raiders are on the comeback, I suppose maybe he catches a bunch of dump offs. But we've talked about the opportunity cost, and the prices isn't cheap enough. Is the other thing for me? It's like you're not going to get big enough savings at running back to consider it. It's kind of a mess. But yeah, like you can go Mac, you can double stack Mac with Thomas and Strange and run it back with one of Myers. I guess you do Bowers, or you're going double tight end, but you will have some. I guess Strange and Jones are pretty cheap. I'm trying to think of how salary might affect things. Do we have a favorite stack, a favorite game stack, a favorite skinny?
I like that. I mean, we talked about the San Francisco Miami game. I like that game quite a bit. And then, I mean, I'm going to be getting to a lot of exposure of this Atlanta Giants game as well. So that's going to be up there for me. And then I think you should be getting exposure to Arizona, Carolina as well. So those 3 games, I think, are my favorite 3.
Wazoo wants to know if Darnold, Jefferson, Addison stack. I really like Addison today. I don't know if I can get to Jefferson. I'm not besmirching Jefferson. I think Addison's an interesting tournament flyer. Can you get those? Can you double stack Minnesota? Are you okay with that?
I don't love it, but I mean, you certainly can in large field.
All right, our guy, Mr. Richard, can you stack Richardson and Taylor in the same lineup, large field DK?
No,
I don't
like that.
I don't think I like it either. They're probably siphoning from each other. I suppose you can get a dump off touchdown, right? But I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get a rushing touchdown from Richardson is the problem. So
yeah.
that's taking a touchdown away from JT. So I don't really like that much.
Donnie wants us to know if we're worried about the weather in Seattle. I'm cognizant. I'm aware of it. It's still 7 hours away, 6 hours, whatever it is. It's a long way away, so we don't really know. I did drop Roth's weather report. He did talk about it's probably going to be wet. To what degree is it wet? We'll see. Seattle standard. It's going to rain to some degree, but it's currently just yellow for what it's worth. You go ahead and read that at your own leisure. I dropped it in chat for the people, but we do have Erik, we have Neil. They're coming on right now. It's GPP Final Takes. Let's do the seamless segue. Neil, hope you're feeling better. I know you couldn't head out to Nashville. You couldn't party, have a good time, and Mooch as the +1, which is what is better than that. That's a great role.
It is honestly my favorite thing to do. It was fun. Like, I've been to a couple live finals where I had a ticket, and that was like, it's fun. It's also just like you're stressed out the whole time. You're thinking about like, oh my God, if I get this right, I can win $1 million. Otherwise, I'm not winning money. As a guest, like, you have none of that stress. And
who wants that stress?
It's a good stress, but like you're just there to enjoy your time. I don't know if any of you have been to live finals, but it's like on the day of the games, like Sundays, it's so stressful. Like everybody's just like kind of stressed out. Nobody's really enjoying themselves that much, except for the guests. The guests are still really enjoying themselves, so it's a fun experience. I was sad to miss that one.
Everybody's faking it though. Having everybody pretends to be. It's like the high school kids, right? It's like you're definitely super nerdy and you're not cool, but you got to act cool in front of everybody else. Like everybody, you're like, especially even the guys, right? That this money really means nothing to them. They're entering a ton of teams and they're walking around and they're acting normal, but everybody is stressed to the gills.
Oh yeah, you can definitely feel the stress in the room.
As a +1, Neil, do you feel an obligation to over cheer? Like for yeah,
I don't. Maybe that makes me a bad guest. I don't know. I do. I cheer for whoever I go with, but I don't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, over root for the person you're.
But also like I've only been guests of people who are better DFS players than myself and who have won a lot more at DFS. So like they are, I don't know they're the type who want somebody who's a big cheerleader for them necessarily. They're feeling the stress. They know exactly how important each play is.
Fair enough. Erik, do you want to touch on your best ball stuff before we and also, is it Malik Washington Day? I'm looking for a cheap receiver. Is that happening today?
We're hoping he will be brought up, of course, but he's too obvious, Dean. We like to go for the really crappy guys that score 0 points around these parts. Yeah, Craycraft is probably more fitting, but I can't. That's sacrilegious. I'm not talking about River Craycraft over Malik Washington. You know that was my guy. For anybody that doesn't know, that was my rookie total dart throw was Malik Washington. So it is fun. I don't know if I'm playing him in DFS. We'll get to that game, but. He's definitely very much in play, and I don't want to bore the people with the best ball stuff. I will just say that we were real close to being wiped out by Derrick Henry yesterday. I mean, he should have gone. If you have Derrick Henry, I kind of feel bad for you because he should have went absolutely nuclear yesterday, and we skated by the skin of our teeth there.
He had like 165 yards and didn't really break the slate, right? Something like that.
Passes. Justice Hill got hurt. Everything played out in Derrick Henry's favor.
I mean, still had a pretty good game. All things considered, you'll take that game against the Steelers. If I could just take those points for Derrick Henry. I don't have any either, so I was also glad he did not score a touchdown or anything like that. But yeah, I'd still be happy with that score if I had him.
Myself and Tim, we have lineups to make. We do appreciate y'all watching. Still 2 hours. 2 hours nonstop NFL DFS conversation. Hit that like button. Do not go anywhere. It is now Erik and Neil. Erik, take it away.
I just want to call out during this non-seamless transition, non-seamless, was that when Dean was doing the seamless transition, he called out that it was a seamless transition from their show to our show, which I think makes it not very seamless at all.
No,
right?
It's not at all.
I had to follow it up with another not very seamless transition here, but welcome, of course, week 16, man. I can't believe it's week 16, but we're here. GPP Final Takes. Myself, Erik Beimfohr, my good friend, Neil Orfield. And we'll be bringing you, as the name says, the final takes for tournaments, for GPP. So we're not necessarily going to go game by game. We're not necessarily going to go position by position. We will do plenty of that, but we will kind of bounce around to the most notable tournament subjects, players, stacks, decisions that you have to make for your lineups here with just a couple hours up until lock. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. It's one of my favorite things to do is answer all of the questions. You guys will bring up some guys maybe that we don't even think about that are worthy of discussing. We only got an hour or so we want to hit as many of your questions as you can. Crunch time will follow us and lead you all the way up until lock. So we always like to start, Neil, with what's the theme of the slate, right? I don't know what it is. I guess I would say the pricey running backs, specifically on DraftKings, there's a little bit of a difference on FanDuel, which we'll get to, but the pricey running backs are so juicy. There's like even the lower owned ones look pretty good from a projection standpoint. And so I think a lot of people, right, are gonna, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, geez, like no one really has to talk that much. We could spend the show on everyone but Jahmyr Gibbs because I think people get it. But Gibbs, right, Chase Brown, even Bijan, like a slightly lesser owned for a little bit more money, looks awesome. On down the list, right, James Conner, blah blah blah. If everyone's going to construct their lineups that way, I'm like bouncing back and forth because I love them too, and I love to get into the crappy stacks. But am I going to play myself into like chalk crap stacks and play the same running backs as everybody else? I don't know, but I'm curious how you're approaching that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly how this slate is going to play out. Is everybody wants to play Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, etc. All the juicy running backs that you mentioned. It's also a slate where we don't have like awesome value plays like at receivers. You don't have a lot of like $3,400 receivers that look awesome here. It's kind of like you're reaching a little bit for the Malik Washingtons of the world, where it's like you doesn't project all that well, but maybe you can make your lineup work to some extent. So we are kind of all funneled to the same build where it's like, all right, so you got Gibbs and Brown, and then who can I play that's a cheap quarterback? I guess I'll play Penix or Caleb Williams. Makes it work with those two. Throw in a Bretton Strange, and like I think that there is going to be some real chalk here because the wide receiver cheap value options are not that great. Whereas like tight end has some pretty strong value options. Quarterbacks that I just mentioned are pretty strong value. So I do think we're all going to be funneled into a lot of the same lineups. So yeah, I think you have to be like, you have to force it if you want to flip the script. If you want to go with a Jalen Hurts or a Jaden Daniels or something at quarterback and like find a cheaper running back, some cheaper receivers, you have to kind of force a build that is not, the way that most people are building, which I'm going to be playing a lot of the chalk build, which is cheap quarterback, expensive running backs, mid-range receivers. Like that is going to be a big part of my portfolio. But I will obviously in a 150 set going to be forcing in some of those. It feels grosser to me on this slate to pay up at like quarterback and down at running back. So I'll force in some of those. But yeah, I'm going to be playing a lot of that same type of build also.
That's a good point. I also think when it's, I don't know how to put this into like I don't like spending up at quarterback ever. I don't really like spending up at tight end ever. I know people pay up to be contrarian and all. I get it. I love Trey McBride. I might play Trey McBride today, quite frankly, but we're just going to martingale this until he scores a touchdown in the year like 2030. Yeah. I'll be entering one team into the nickel tournament that exists at that time a week, because I'll have my whole bank account wiped out by Trey McBride never ever scoring a touchdown. But nonetheless, he's an awesome play today. I like to spend up at tight end, but generally speaking, right, what we've kind of learned over many years of DFS is if we can spend down at quarterback, spend down at tight end, and then get as much upside for as much cost at wide receiver as we sometimes, right? Sometimes we used to have a 4K running back that's stepping into, if Tyjae Spears or something today, if Tony Pollard was out, we'd be like, okay, this has changed the slate around. And then we want Jamar Chase. But like what they're giving to us specifically on DraftKings, we're definitely going to talk some FanDuel because it's very, very different today. The pricing and the Sunday night game is a game changer for the slate. But they're giving us like every team has like a 5K wide receiver or like maybe 6K. That's like could go for 35. Devontae Adams was sub 7K and went for 45 last week. Like the pricing is just sort of leading us that direction. And I don't want to swim upstream just to swim upstream. You know what I mean? Right. So I want to dive into maybe some of these, start with some of the games and those wide receivers and maybe those tight ends as well, that we can swim upstream, but like, it's maybe not so, it's not so difficult, right? It's not the walking uphill through the snow both ways, that our parents did. It's like, I'm taking a more scenic route, but I'm not, it's not that difficult. The first one, I was just going to say the first one, you mentioned this, the two, where the quarterbacks I think are going to be pretty popular. The Chicago Bears with Caleb Williams against this Detroit Lions defense that is just destroyed by injury, and Michael Penix now being, mega cheap quarterback on DraftKings against the lowly New York Giants. So they're both in some pretty good spots. Are those two still going to be like pillars of your teams? And how are you just approaching the little bit more chalky, cheap running backs and pass game stacks?
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned it. So even though we are funneled to the same types of build, there are a lot of players within that type of build. Like the mid-range wide receivers, it's not like there's just three that we're all being forced into. There are plenty of mid-range receivers that we like on the slate. There are even beyond the Gibbs and Brown, there are several other expensive running backs that we like on this slate. So even if you are funneled into the same type of build, you can build differently within that build, like have different player combos within that build. So yes, I'm going to have a lot of Caleb Williams was like one of the first quarterbacks that kind of stands out on the slate. He has two of the better projected like point per dollar receivers on the slate in Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. And then Romo Dunze is major leverage off of those receivers. So kind of like all of the Chicago receivers, I'll be pairing doing mostly double stacks, I think, with Caleb and his receivers against this depleted Lions defense. I think looks great. I'll play a lot of Michael Penix.
I just want to how much Keenan versus DJ Moore versus Rome are you like planning to play?
Let's see. So we've got DJ Moore coming in at about 21% ownership. Keenan Allen just 10% ownership. Now I feel like that is separated more than it had been earlier, like the first few times I looked at it. And then Rome is, I'm gonna have to search for Rome because I think it's gonna be very low.
1%.
1%. So I will probably have 10 to 15% Rome. 20%, maybe 20% each of DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Like I could play the like flip their ownership type thing, but I think I'm just gonna have a lot of all of them. So I think probably around 20% Keenan and DJ Moore, 10% Rome seems good enough to me. How about you? How are you playing it?
Yeah, I came into the week wondering if the slight savings on Keenan would make it. I am, as more of a single entry type guy, I agree with you. I really like this spot for the Lions. I really like, or the Bears. I really like the prices. I like them as one-offs or with Caleb Williams. So if Caleb, believe me, Caleb doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies either. If you're like, I think I would just rather click somebody else than Caleb. These wide receivers are fine. Even as bad as Caleb plays, these guys are getting there because it all goes to 2.5 guys, right? Yeah. Rome gets a little bit here or there. But if Keenan is going to be half the ownership, I'm pretty intrigued by that. As projections do too, DJ Moore projects for 2.5 points more than Keenan does. I like him better too. I like the spot better for him. But that doesn't matter. Keenan had 13 targets last week. Keenan's like Keenan gets like double-digit targets like every week. It's back to old school Keenan, but with a really crappy quarterback and not Justin Herbert. So if I'm going to get that, right, 5,300 double-digit targets against this, they're going to have to score. I know the Lions, outdoors golf stuff. He's not going to score 0 points, right? So the Bears are going to have to score. I think I lean a little bit more towards Keenan, and Rome he's below my line of caring, unfortunately, as a more of a single entry player. But it's not because he's not intriguing. It's because, like you said, there's a million 5K wide receivers. It's really hard to get to him in like you said, in a hand build 1 entry, 3 entry max thing.
Yeah, for if you're not MME and the large field stuff, that makes sense to not really care about Rome. He does have over 7 targets per game over the past 5 games. So it feels like a little relative to DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Like, he gets scraps, but like for most teams, like 7 targets per game is pretty good. So I like him for the large field contest that I play. But understandable to not want to play Rome in a single entry or 3 max or whatever. And then the second quarterback you asked about, Michael Penix. I'm also going to have a good amount of Michael Penix. I love the mystery box. He was, threw downfield quite a bit in college. I'm hopeful that he's going to continue to do so. And I kind of like that it's not really clear which receiver to pair him with. Right. I know talked with Scott about this yesterday, that apparently Darnell Mooney has been saying like, oh yeah, we haven't practiced at all together this year. Like, you heard that kind of stuff, like, oh, he's not practicing with his starting receivers. That makes me a little bit nervous. But I still think I'm willing to take shots on the rookie who, they reached up to get him with the 8th overall pick. Like, they really believe in Michael Penix, and like anybody will be better than no, I'm exaggerating, but Kirk Cousins has not been good this year. So I think Michael Penix could be an upgrade relative to what we've seen recently from Kirk. He has all these really great weapons. Not really clear who's going to get the ball. Is he going to dump it off at all to Bijan Robinson? I'll be playing a good amount of Michael Penix, and once again mixing and matching who I have him with. Definitely not forcing like a double stack with Michael Penix, because part of the reason you like him is the value. Like, doesn't necessarily need to go off, and I still I'm hopeful obviously that he can at 4,500. but I'm not going to force like double stacks there, probably just single stacks. But yeah, I like Penix quite a bit. I think I'll probably have 20% each of Caleb Williams and Michael Penix.
Penix is so difficult for me because on one hand, he's definitely going to be popular. On the other hand, or on the same hand, I guess, Giants pushing back has not been something that's been awesome to bet on all season. And so you're like, okay, he's probably, I think it's pretty thin, actually. Maybe I'm being too positive about how good he might be. But he's a $4,500 quarterback against the New York Giants. Like, it's just hard to fail.
Right.
Now, does that win you tournaments, right? Does somebody else beat him by 15 or 20 or 25? That's possible. But it's hard for him to fail. So I'm like, that's hard to get away from. And then you think about if this were week 2 or week 3 or whatever, and Kirk Cousins was $4,500, right? What we knew back then, we were all excited for the Lions. Got Jahmyr Gibbs on the brain because he's definitely gonna go absolutely nuclear. The Falcons, right? We were excited for London. We were excited for, and then pops off. We were excited for Pitts. I'm not saying to care about Pitts, but I'm saying nobody cares about Pitts anymore. Like, this offense still has everything that we wanted. And London would be, remember, there was weeks where it was like, what are we doing with Drake London? He's the highest owned wide receiver. Now, with a probable upgrade, a possible, whatever we want to put it, nobody wants Drake London. Nobody really, like, within reason, right? We're like, yeah, I like Penix at 4,500, but I don't really like the guys I have to pair him with. And I mean, I feel that way too, but it feels like if we just kind of remove the last month and a half of Kirk Cousins and go back to kind of what our expectations were for the Falcons and this matchup, it makes me a little more excited. To your point, I don't know who to pair him with. I can see the reasons why. I've heard a lot of people this week talk about Darnell Mooney. I get it 100%, but also, like, I don't want to take what Drake London has done with Kirk Cousins and then try to say that's what it's also going to be with Michael Penix, because the point is that he's going to upgrade, right? Open up the offense, get some more downfield stuff. So I think I lean London just a tick. I do want to stack Penix. To be clear, he's not a runner. I've seen some of that going around. He's a pocket passer. He physically can run, but he's like CJ Stroud or something like that, right? You might get a scramble, but he's not this ain't Josh Allen, this ain't Anthony Richardson. So I do want to stack him. I am going to probably single stack him if I play him. And I think, like I said, I think I lean towards Drake London. But what about, and we're talking about the, are you going to play any Drew Lock? Can you do that on the opposite side of this game? Drew Lock starting. Tommy DeVito is going to back him up. Cheap Malik Neighbors. Somebody in the chat, mentioned a cheap Daniel Bellinger, which feels crazy, but he's 2,900 and Theo Johnson is out. Anything on the Giants side that we can turn this game into a sneaky crap game shootout?
I won't be playing Drew Lock. I prefer the mystery box. Penix cheaper and mystery box, whereas Drew Lock is just like, that is, what that gift is, and it smells really bad, and you don't really want what's in that box. So I think I'm going to skip past Drew Lock. You can play Malik Neighbors though as a bring back at 6,100. I think Neighbors makes sense. Tyrone Tracy is back, so I think those are the only two that I'm probably playing from the Giants. I guess Wandale getting some ownership, and that's fine. I guess I'm probably not going to Wandale. So yeah, I think just going to be those top two, Tyrone Tracy and Malik Neighbors for me from the Giants. Yeah, I think does that answer your question? I mean, I think
yes.
that's how I'm game stacking is. I probably won't force the bring back either, because again, you don't need the Falcons to put up, you don't need Penix to put up 35 and his receiver to put up 30 for it to pay off. Like, you can get 15 out of Penix and 14 out of, I mean, you probably need more than 14 out of London. 20 out of London is enough, where you don't really need the bring back. You're not really expecting the game to go completely off. So I don't think I'll force a bring back for those stacks.
I think that's actually a really good point that's also really relevant on this slate, where the bring back game stack stuff is very popular, and with good reason, because when a game gets off the rails, long time. Look at of course the Bills and last 2 weeks, the Bills games, but also the Jets game last week when Devontae Adams hits a big play and Brian Thomas hits a big play, and neither team can run the ball at all. And you just get a couple big plays. Both teams start right. Mac Jones ends up throwing 46 passes. Like, he doesn't project for 46 passes. He projects for like 30. So when you get 46 and a bunch of big plays, that's what you like when you want that. I played Rodgers doubles. I'm so good at screwing up the stone cold nuts of 4 players, and we did that again last week with that game stack. And shouts to Derrick Henry. for his just disastrous game. But some of these games and some of these stacks that we'll like are not I like Anthony Richardson today, but I'm like, sure, Calvin Ridley's fine, right? If you want to play Calvin Ridley on the other side or Chig or something, I guess. But like the point of playing them is because Anthony Richardson is 5,400 and he runs, right? The point of playing Michael Penix is because he's 4,500 against the Giants. It's not because we were looking for this sneaky little weird game shootout. There are some other spots where we might want that. But I want to hit some questions before we start working our way down some of these other games. Ooh, good question. Because I do want to make sure we hit on FanDuel. Shiv Daddy wants to know about cash quarterbacks on FanDuel. So your favorite quarterbacks on FanDuel, specifically for cash games, but just in general too.
Yeah, so for cash games, Josh Allen, Michael Penix, and Joe Burrow are the three that I wrote up as my favorite cash plays on FanDuel. I think if I were going to go to just one, I haven't looked at how the builds are working out this morning, if anything has changed since yesterday. I suspect that it would be Josh Allen number one as a cash option on FanDuel. It kind of depends what you can fit around him, but yeah, if you don't like him in your cash lineup, then I just throw in probably Michael Penix or Joe Burrow there.
Penix 6,000 on FanDuel, just to add to why is Penix in the conversation on FanDuel as well, which is sometimes goofy. Well, Josh Allen's 9,400. Joe Burrow's 8,300. Michael Penix is 6,000. So you can really get, and then I will also add, Jamar Chase is 9,500, right? So if you want Chase, if you want some of these running backs, Bijan 8,900, James Conner 8,400, Jahmyr Gibbs 8,300. But still, if you want Gibbs, Conner, Chase Brown, whatever, maybe Jamar Chase in your lineup, Josh Allen ain't working. It ain't working with Josh Allen, so that's why Michael Penix really matters.
Yep, and Joe Burrow, the other one that kind of stands out there at 8,300, bit cheaper than Josh Allen. Let's see other quarterbacks on FanDuel. Let me pull them up real quick. Yeah, so again, like you said, Penix 6,000. Burrow looks good at 8,300. Who else? Brock Purdy kind of makes sense on both sites. I like, we've already talked about Caleb. I also like Kyler Murray on both sites, another quarterback that I'll be getting to a good amount. So it's a lot of the same quarterbacks on FanDuel, and I guess we haven't talked about all of them yet, but those are some that stand out to me. Maybe Sam Darnold, another one that I'll play on, again, both sites, not just FanDuel. Hurts looks a little bit more playable on FanDuel because he's only 8,600. Like the price isn't quite as prohibitive on FanDuel. So maybe Hurts is in play there too.
I kind of like him on FanDuel, the touchdown stuff without he's rarely getting the 300 yard bonus, but the two, you get the 2 rushing touchdowns or something in a game there. It's really powerful on FanDuel. Not that Josh Allen can't do that, but I think those 2 game environments are quite different with Washington's ability to push back in New England's. I think to answer the question, if I'm building a cash team, I do think it's Penix. And jam the studs around him. But if you have conviction about somebody that's cheaper, which we'll get to some of those guys as well, I think you can play Josh Allen too, and that's totally fine. Jim wants to know, this is a great question for you. I'll mute and shut up and listen. He's playing 9 quarterbacks on DraftKings today, I assume in a 150 set. Is that too many? How many do you have? What do you have advice for Jim?
Yeah, I guess it depends. Are you playing 9 lineups? Are you playing 150 or more? But yeah, no, that's not too many. I am very much a spread out my exposures player on FanDuel, or sorry, in 150 sets in large field GPPs. I spread out my quarterbacks quite a bit. I usually like, depending on the slate, and obviously it depends slate to slate. Some slates I'll go harder on. I'll set my max at 50% of one quarterback, something like that, where I just want a ton of one quarterback. But most slates I like to spread out because it's such a chaotic game like that. That's one way to kind of mitigate your risk a little bit, is by spreading out your stacks. The quarterback also, like, because I'm always stacking my quarterback, it sort of like starts the core of your build. So just like spreading out your quarterback exposure sort of naturally spreads out your portfolio, and so mitigates your risk overall. Because if I'm playing a lineup where I have Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack, that's immediately going to look very different from a Michael Penix, Darnell Mooney stack, because it allows you the Penix Mooney stack allows you a lot of the pay up options, so you'll get different players in your different types of lineups. So I like to play a lot of quarterbacks, and it's also just sort of a risk tolerance thing more than it is a like EV thing. You can make 150 plus EV lineups with Michael Penix or with Caleb Williams, or any number of quarterbacks. So like you can make 150 great lineups just playing one quarterback or playing 20 different quarterbacks. I probably typically fall into the range of playing 10 to 12 quarterbacks on a given Sunday main slate. And again, that varies week to week. Some weeks I really like one quarterback, so I'll just lean into them more. But I tend to spread out my quarterback exposure because I like the way it sort of forces you to have a whole different like portfolio across your teams.
Yeah, I really like that. I like also, like you said, getting into, even if it's a sprinkle of XYZ, you get into different builds, right? Like you said, the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown team just inherently looks different than the Michael Penix team, than the Mac Jones team, or whatever. They all look different, because it doesn't mean they're not plus EV. They're different. It's just a different story, right? That has to get told. Some more quarterbacks. We can kind of run to everybody's. It's a crazy quarterback week. Nobody really does stand out. I mean, we wouldn't really be talking much about Michael Penix. Well, we'll see. Maybe he's a superstar and we would be talking about him. But if he weren't 4,500, he would not be of that much appeal. Like, Caleb Williams is fine, whatever, but like nobody's that excited. He's just cheap, right? In a pretty good spot. Some others. Brian asks, I think this is your like crap game, not shootout, but just like I know where the ball is going. He brings up AOC, Aiden O'Connell. There's Mac Jones on the other side. This game's disgusting. And it reminds me very much of when the Jags just played the Titans, where we were like, oh, if it does shoot out a little bit, I know where the ball is going. And it was 10-7 or whatever that game was. That's what this feels like to me. So I don't love it too much. But if there are some points scored, I do know where the ball is going on both sides. So what do you think about AOC or Mac Jones in this game?
I think I like it better than you do. For that reason that you just mentioned, just like I love the condensed, like, okay, it's going to Jacoby Myers and Brock Powers, like that we can just play those two. That's awesome. But the Jags defense is just so bad that it's like, I feel like this is, I always love these game environments. And I think that people have kind of caught on to them over the years, but where it's just like the range of outcomes is this could be a total slot fest where the defenses win out just because the offenses are so inept. Or it could be these bad offenses go off in this game because the defenses are so inept, and Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers take advantage of broken plays, that kind of stuff. So I like this wide range of outcomes for large field GPPs. So I will be playing a good amount of AOC. I suspect I'll have 15-20% AOC also, just because I really like Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers on this slate. Just the way he. And it's funny to say AOC elevates them, but like relative to Desmond Ridder, like the upgrade is so big relative to Desmond Ridder. So getting AOC back in this best possible matchup, I love it. So I think I'll play a good amount of AOC with just those. I don't think I'm playing any like Trey Tucker or anything. I think it's just Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. If somehow a few Trey Tucker snuck in on the optimizer, I wouldn't be mad about it, but not something I'm forcing.
I totally agree. If anybody watched the college football games the last couple of days, they've not been super competitive, right? So that's all the rage is. Apparently, when playoff games are not competitive in college sports, specifically college football, like everybody loses it. Like it's like, have we not watched like millions of sports games? Like not every game is close. Like that people are going back and citing, like, did you watch Notre Dame make the championship multiple times and lose by 50? Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's not all. And then the Tennessee stuff, right? Then we should have just put the SEC teams in. The one SEC team gets absolutely throttled. The second SEC team gets absolutely throttled. But the difference, this long-winded way of getting to the difference, though, in like these total slop games is that quarterback. And it sounds silly that Aiden O'Connell elevates this offense probably more than Michael Penix even can elevate the Falcons offense. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's because the floor was that, like, Desmond Ridder didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver until the last drive of the game. He's that bad. So Aiden O'Connell just being able to complete a forward pass, just get the ball, and he only throws it to those guys. I do think it's good. Mac Jones is similar. He's not an elevator over Trevor Lawrence, but he's only throwing it to a couple dudes. Frankly, they only got a couple of dudes. Like, you can mark down Parker Washington for 5 targets, and then the rest are going to Brian Thomas and Brenton Strange. So, if we can just hit a home run and speed the game up a little bit, they're all too cheap for this. I wanted to ask you about Bowers. Is Bowers your favorite spend up, or is it McBride, or is it somebody else at tight end?
Probably McBride is my favorite at tight end, because I'm a sucker for narratives and the Kyler, I promise 85 will touch the end zone soon, like that kind of stuff on social media. Just like, all right, I already want to play McBride every week. Like, he's been like a guy that I just always play regardless, because it's like he gets so many targets. What if he scores a touchdown? And now it's like they're playing against the Panthers. He gets so many targets against the Panthers. He's a little bit more likely to score that touchdown. Then you get the promise from Kyler that he's going to touch the end zone soon. So all of this plays together where it's like, yes, I'm going to play a ton of Trey McBride and can't wait to see him have 6 receptions for 60 yards and that's it on the day without scoring a touchdown, because they pass interfered him, because they're like, no, we're not letting him score the touchdown on us. Yeah, I will be playing a lot of McBride. Bowers is not far behind though. Like, I love the matchup. He's only $300. For some reason, that $300 feels like a lot, but it's really not that much more expensive, and getting lower ownership. So I do like McBride quite a bit. Also, it's not a big difference there for me between McBride and Bowers. Both look like really, really strong plays to me. Actually, they're projecting for similar ownership, I think. Wait.
I should have pulled it up. Oh, I'm on FanDuel.
Yeah, I thought I had it up somewhere. Hang on.
Can I just say, while you're pulling that up, I have FanDuel up, and Hunter Henry is the highest owned tight end on FanDuel. I get it. Like, I get how the math works. I get, right, like, but somebody doesn't have to do something for the Patriots. I just want to get
right.
I don't really want to talk about the Patriots, but Hunter Henry is the highest owned tight end on FanDuel, and I just want to get that out of the way, because I'm not playing Hunter Henry on FanDuel, just to be clear.
Yeah. So there is a big difference. The resolution on the screen that I use for doing shows, for some reason, just like the Opto doesn't work. So it takes me a minute. Trey McBride is actually projected for 14% ownership, where Brock Bowers is projected for sub 4% ownership. So I kind of take it back. Like, for large field GPPs, I prefer that ownership on Bowers for $300 more. So maybe he is my preferred pay up option in tournaments. But I'm just going to be playing a lot of both. I think you can play them together too. Like, I think like 2 tight end sets, like, very much would not be shocking if both of them put up 25 fantasy points. So no issue with playing multiple tight ends in the same lineup either. But yeah, I think, like, once you factor in that ownership, then sure, I think I might like Bowers a little bit better than McBride. You've got Jonnu, looks like a pretty strong, like, getting lower ownership, because everybody wants to play all the other tight ends. George Kittle, sub 10% ownership. Even Laporta with no Montgomery. Like, I think all of the pay up options. Kyle Pitts, who knows? Maybe all he needed all along was Michael Penix. So I think they're like all of the, like, pay up tight ends look pretty good here, but it would be Bowers, McBride, my 2 favorites of the group, pretty clearly. How about you? How do you like the tight ends?
I just wanted to add to what yours. I think that's maybe the most interesting part of this slate to me, is that we're going to get a bunch of ownership on, McBride will get his, but Brenton Strange is going to get a bunch of ownership. People are going to want to talk. I just mentioned Hunter Henry on FanDuel. People are going to want to talk. Jake Ferguson is cheap on FanDuel, right? Dalton Kincaid is cheap on FanDuel. People are going to want the cheaper guys across the board. It's hard for me to envision. Now, it's tight end. Anything can happen. It's hard for me to envision from, like, Pitts on up. Now I'm looking at DraftKings. From, like, Pitts on up, Pitts, Kincaid, Laporta, Hawkinson, Njoku is active today. I know Dorian Thompson-Robinson is playing, but it's the Bengals also. So, like, anything can happen. So Njoku, Jonnu, Kittle actually looks pretty good for tournaments to me this week. You mentioned Brock Purdy earlier. Trey McBride, Brock back. It's hard for me to envision one of those guys not having a pretty darn good game. So I don't think this is, I say that to say, I don't think this is the week where, like, your 8 Brenton Strange points are getting it done for you. Sure, right? Lineups, not players, blah, blah, blah. But I think you need some form of raw points at tight end this week, which is a difficult thing for me, because I do keep finding builds where I would like one of the punt guys. I don't particularly want to play Brenton Strange if I'm not stacking that game, just my personal preference. But it's tricky. I think tight end is tricky. What is Kittle's ownership? Brian says, just super quick. Yeah, I need to flip over to DraftKings. I'm sorry. It's low.
Do I have this up? Kittle's at 8%.
Okay.
On DraftKings.
I would be honestly shocked if he got to 8%.
I know that was more. I think it's more than I've seen elsewhere. Like that was part of the reason Kittle has some appeal to me. Is he has that big, boom bust profile, and then I thought he was going like 3% yesterday when I was looking at this stuff. So, 8% I think is the highest I've seen.
I'll also just say, I think Dean mentioned in the show before us. If you guys are not checking out the show, the People show before us, please make sure you do. Dean and Tim are awesome. But I kind of liked, and I agree with Dean's take. Like, look, Patrick Taylor is fine, but we are on RB5 for the San Francisco 49ers. I know Shanny is a wizard with these guys. I suspect Patrick Taylor's fine. He's like 4,800 on FanDuel. And I think he makes for an interesting tournament play over on FanDuel. But also, if he just said, okay, like I'm not building the plane out of Patrick Taylor and Izzy Abanikanda and Keyshawn Vaughn. Let's let Purdy sling that puppy around, right? Juwan is good, Kittle is good. Maybe Debo can catch a pass this week. Maybe. I kind of like the pass game in that. And then if there's no Waddle, I really like Jonnu at tight end. If you don't have Kittle, I mean, he's just a target hog. Malik Washington does give you some salary savings. Fun fact, Malik Washington not only led the Dolphins in receiving last week, in a game of the Texans against the Dolphins, Nico, Waddle, Tyreek, Tank Dell, Malik Washington was the leading receiver with 53 yards. So it wasn't some bad that game was, but I think he's playable. I think Tyreek is playable. I'm not excited about it, but there's no Waddle. He's going to get 10 targets or something. Just pray to God he can finally break one. Let's see here. Can you play It's Me Breezy? Can you play DJ Moore and Keenan in cash together on DraftKings? And I will add, do you need to have Caleb? Or are you cool playing like Penix with both those wide receivers in cash?
Yeah, absolutely. You can play them together in cash. I don't know if they will be in I made my cash lineup, but yeah, you can play them together. You definitely don't need Caleb Williams in cash with those. Like, you don't need to correlate your cash game lineup. So yes, you can play them together. No, you don't need to play them with Caleb.
Eric asks, thoughts on the Titans? Ridley is cheap. I agree. And it's the holiday season. So obviously Rudolph is going to smash today. Fair analysis. If we're buying into Kyler tweets as a reason to play Trey McBride, we should buy into the holiday season for Mason Rudolph. But man, Will Levis has been bad. Really, really bad. I thought he'd be a little bit better than this. Mason Rudolph also stinks, but does that give you a little more excitement to play? Even if it's just Ridley, not necessarily Mason Rudolph, but like, I don't hate a little like Anthony Richardson, Josh Downs, Calvin Ridley, little mini game stack or something in this one. What do you think about the Titans and that game overall?
Yeah, I don't think that I'm going to get to Mason Rudolph, but I think he is playable. Like, if you want to play for that, like, he is elevating this offense. Like, it's very possibly true that he is going to elevate the offense, makes Ridley better. You could go to Nick Westbrook-Akine. I guess we've seen it enough times. I don't think that it's the way that I'm playing this slate, but I also think that, that's certainly a way. You can build good lineups around Mason Rudolph with Calvin Ridley or Nick Westbrook-Akine, whatever. So I think it's playable. I probably will get to some Ridley, not even a ton of Ridley, but I certainly will get to some Ridley. I'm probably not getting to like Nick Westbrook-Akine, maybe a little bit of Chig also. But yeah, I think that's kind of not one that I'm super enthusiastic about. I think Colts defense been a little bit better in recent weeks since they got, I think, DeForest Buckner back, I think is the name on the defense for the Colts, has made some impact there. And they're only like the implied team total is 19.5 for the Titans.
Surprised it's that high.
Frankly. So yeah, I don't think I'm getting to Rudolph, but I think that I will get to some Ridley, some Okonkwo, maybe a share or two of NWI, but not a ton. How about you?
Yep. I do like, I did want to shout Josh Downs. I think I like him stacked with Anthony Richardson a little bit better, but Alec Pierce is out today on another week. And I have, frankly, played cheap AD Mitchell. It wasn't pleasurable. I don't recommend it to anyone. I didn't play him last week Yeah. Did you see the AD Mitchell play, the double pass? So they throw the wide receiver screen. They're gonna throw it back to Richardson. He throws it to Mitchell. He's gonna throw it back to Richardson, and then Richardson's gonna throw it. AD Mitchell, after having negative 10 rushing yards earlier in the game, throws a pass all the way back to Richardson, right, to set up the play. It gets picked off and taken back to the house. He had -2 fantasy points as a wide receiver with no catches, no receiving yards, no fumbles, -10 rushing yards, and an interception. It was one of the most impressive stat lines I've ever seen. Obviously, AD Mitchell could bounce back here today, but I'm not sure he's very good. I definitely don't think Michael Pittman is a superstar. I think if they're going to have success through the air, I think it's through Josh Downs, and he's 4,900 on DraftKings. I actually like him quite a bit for tournaments. Probably mostly stacked with Anthony Richardson, because if Downs is getting there passing, you're probably getting a good score from Richardson with his rushing. But that's kind of my favorite play in this game, even more so than Calvin Ridley, would be Josh Downs. The running man asked what you think about O'Connell. We just talked. I just scroll back just a tick, 10 minutes or something. We talked about AOC in the Vegas and Jags game. Perfect transition into Jason's question. The next quarterback up that we talked about, Trey McBride. We talked a little bit about James Conner, but all the Cardinals project well. Kyler, Connor, McBride, Marv, they all project well. You have some decent run back options if you want to game stack this baby with Thielen, maybe Jalen Coker, Chuba. Is an afterthought now, from the stone chalk to an afterthought in a week. DFS is funny, but what do you think about, are you going to onslaught the Cardinals at all? What do you think about Cardinals Panthers?
Yeah, I would say too many is probably 5 would be too many Cardinals in the lineup. I can even see if you want to play Kyler, Connor, Marv, and McBride, I think that's probably fine. Against Panthers, I would probably want to bring back if I had 4 in the same lineup. But yeah, I will be doing game onslaughts. And by game onslaughts, I primarily mean Kyler with McBride and Marv Harrison Jr. and just kind of hope that they do just go off against the Panthers, which I think that they should be able to. So yeah, I'll be doing game stacks. I also like Chuba in that game. I think Thielen looks pretty good. Coker, David Moore, both playable also. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like on both sides of that games. Primarily I'm playing the Cardinals, but I think the Panthers have enough there that you could even require a bring back, and I might require a bring back on my Kyler stacks because there are enough options on the Panthers, and they're cheap enough that I think that they make some sense for a full game stack. How about you?
My only issue is Thielen is my favorite, much more so than what a world. Week 16, 20, it's almost 2025, and I'm Adam Thielen is my favorite wide receiver in a game, but he's my favorite Panther. What I really like about the Cardinals is the Kyler stacks is I love a lot of running backs on this slate, and I love James Conner. Okay, James Conner is a stone cold smash. I might play James Conner. This is not me saying anything negative about him. We haven't discussed it, but Amari DiMercado, we talked about it last week. I know that he doesn't seem like he matters. He's kind of like the Dario Gumbawale or something like that, where I know it seems like nothing, but he'd come in and play a lot of third downs and steal some of that. He was a thorn, and he's not relevant to fantasy, but he's a thorn in the side of James Conner. He's on injured reserve. Trey Benson is out today, so he was the only other guy stealing work away from James Conner. So now you're getting the goal line stuff. You're getting 90% of the rush, the rush attempts, and you're getting the pass game work. He's an incredible play, but they're going to score a bunch of points. There's nothing to say that he's going to score all the touchdowns, right? James Conner. It could be Kyler. It could be Trey McBride. I kind of like the Kyler stacks with a Thielen bring back, kind of so I can free up a running back spot, right? I really want to I'm playing Gibbs, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of like the leverage E. It's not super leverage because they're not super low owned. But if people are going to run to Connor, I kind of like running to the passing game a little bit.
Yep, exactly. Same thoughts, where it's just all right, everybody wants to play the chalkier. Then I also really like the passing game, where it's also not super contrarian. Other than Marv is actually somewhat contrarian. Last I looked, of course, things have changed a little bit. This morning, is he still getting sub 5% ownership? Because I love that for him. Down to 50. Okay, 8% is what we have, but he's down to 5,400, 8% ownership in the nut matchup. I mean, yeah, looks pretty strong.
That's hilarious. Shout out Sosa. Can't figure out how to use YouTube. Our producer logging into different various RotoGrinders accounts and such in the chat. But hey, Steve. Some more questions. I want to hit as many of these questions as I can. So if you have more, please bring them. Chicago weather is a good one. Marie asks. So on one hand, it's cold. I'm in St. Louis. I'm sure it's cold where you are too. It sucks. I walked the dogs this morning. It sucks. It's miserable. Jared Goff outdoors. Caleb Williams isn't exactly like some cold weather savant either. Is there just anything that's keeping you off that game, like with the environment issues?
So I hadn't given a ton of thought to the weather, and that's one of those things I tend to not factor it in as much as I should. Don't tell Roth, please. But yeah, I probably don't think about the weather as much as I should.
It's yellow.
All right, so I want to yellow in what sense? Sorry, and I know you're
30
just
degrees with 10 to 15 mile an hour sustained wind gusts up to 25. In case you're curious, that puts the wind chill or the feels like temperature at about 19 degrees. So cold and a little windy.
Honestly, yeah, that does concern me a little bit. Like the wind aspect more so than the cold. You also have like Caleb. I think is he from California? I don't know much about Caleb.
I actually don't remember. I mean, he went to Oklahoma first, so it's not like he's never been in cold temperatures. But he obviously then transferred to USC, and he was born in DC, so he's experienced some cold. But yeah. I don't think. Yeah. He went to high school in DC, so he's been around the cold, but he doesn't strike me as the
guy who loves playing in the cold.
He ain't Josh Allen. Okay.
I mean, so I'll say this: I grew up in Minnesota. I live in Minnesota, and I would hate playing football in the cold. So probably like I bring up where he's from. Like it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like
I played college football and I hated it. Okay.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It doesn't really like the fact that he has not even if he has not experienced the cold a ton, like I don't actually think it gives you
it's fun. It's real football weather.
Yeah, no, as a fan, I never want to like experience the like watching the game. I know there are fans who are like, I'm gonna do this shirtless and get super drunk, and I'm like, nope. I'll watch from the comfort of my own
did you watch
house.
Any of the Notre Dame so Notre Dame played Friday night, right? The other 3 playoff games.
A little bit.
Notre Dame and Indiana, cool atmosphere, right? So just quickly, they'll always do like a pregame interview when the teams go out to warm up on college game day, and they're interviewing Jeremiah Love. He is a running back for Notre Dame. He's awesome. He had a 98-yard touchdown run in that game. He's good. He's out there warming up, right? So he's got the mic. They had shown like a bunch of Notre Dame hardos came out, right, to warm up, and they're all shirtless. And it's like 10 degrees in South Bend. Like these guys are psychos. And they're asking Love, like, what do you do for warm-ups? And how come we saw a bunch of your buddies, a bunch of tough guys? How come you didn't come out here shirtless? Whatever. And he just kind of chuckles and he goes, man, it's cold. Those, those dudes are nuts. He's like, it is cold out here. This is an All-American running back at Notre Dame. And he's like, I'm not doing that shit. It's cold. It's cold out here. So I think it kind of matters. I'm glad that I think it was Mario brought up the question. I think it kind of matters because the margins are thin. We're talking about a lot of guys we like here, and there are dome games, and then there are 15-degree temperature games with some wind. It's a big difference in the environment.
It really is. Yeah, no, I guess, yeah, that's what I was going to come around to, is like, I don't actually think it matters where he's from necessarily. Like, I think we probably overstate the impact of like, oh, he's from California versus he's from Minnesota, he'll be fine. Like,
not everyone from California is soft, and everyone from Wyoming
right.
And stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, but regardless, it's just like, it is a different game environment. And it's a tougher playing in the cold, but particularly when there is winds gusting up to 25 miles per hour. So yeah, it does give me some concern, not enough that I'm going to be like fading it, but if it is reason to think like it lowers the floor at least.
Yeah. Erik, just scroll back a little bit for the Kittle discussion. He also asked, that we haven't touched on that I think is interesting, is the Bengals and the Browns. That game is outdoors in Ohio, but green, yellow. It's like this is the weather that I could handle. Okay, this isn't the Bears weather. Around freezing, not really windy, not a big deal. So for anybody worried about that, but Jamar Chase is hilariously like not low owned, not mega owned, but like one of the best point per dollar plays on the slate as the most expensive wide receiver is kind of bananas. But Chase Brown is going to be pretty popular as a running back. Nobody really wants to play any Browns, despite the fact they're facing the Bengals. I get it. DTR stinks, and he probably does neuter their offense. But I'm kind of intrigued because, like, what if he doesn't? Like, a lot of offenses haven't been neutered against the Bengals, and we know they're going to have to score because the Bengals score. What do you think about, Burrow Chase and just this game altogether?
Yeah, Burrow Chase looks awesome, and not getting a ton of ownership. To your point, Jamar Chase projected for like mid-teens ownership, and Joe Burrow getting single-digit ownership. And we've seen them just completely break slates many times. It would be so much more fun if Jameis was playing. Like, pour one out for anybody who enjoys fun. But even without Jameis, like, they need to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. So yeah, I have interest in doing some Burrow stacks. And he love how condensed it is to Jamar Chase and T Higgins. I think you can double stack it with Higgins. Like, if you want to get really different, not a lot of people are going to be double stacking that because it is pretty expensive. You probably can't play two of the spend up running backs along with that stack. So I do think that's one way to get like completely flip the script of your build. Yeah, I like that quite a bit. As far as the Browns go, I guess like Njoku probably the one that I would have the most interest in. You're right, like it is possible like that DTR doesn't completely ruin the team. Like maybe they keep throwing the ball as much as they have been. I suspect that he's bad enough that it's going to limit the number of players who can go off for the Browns.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Njoku's 5,200 and he's a tight end, so he would be my favorite of the group. But maybe they figured out that Jerry Jeudy maybe isn't a jag, and they continue to throw it to him 12 times a game. So I don't like totally hate it. I don't know that I'm playing a lot of the Browns, but I think it makes some sense to go there.
We missed an elite narrative this week. Cedric Tillman. This is a worrisome concussion, by the way, for Cedric Tillman. He's been practicing for 2 weeks and he still hasn't cleared protocol, so he's out today. DTR and Cedric Tillman went to high school together, so we could have had a really fun Tillman fresh off of coming back from injury and playing with his high school quarterback. So that could have been fun. Did not know that. That's cool. Yeah, that could have been fun, but alas, now we have to talk about Jerry Jeudy. I like Njoku. Eric asked about Jerome Ford. I do just want to say Jerome Ford. As the week has gone on a little bit, my interest has lessened. There's just a lot of good plays, but I do think similar to the sentiment about like maybe DTR doesn't completely ruin this offense is like just the expectation is one, DTR ruins it, and Jerome Ford like Donta Foreman's going to come right. If you go look at all projections, Ford isn't getting a huge share of all the work. Like, sure, like that's what happened last time, but like that's not all. It doesn't work like that, right? Like if it did, this game would be really damn easy, but it's not because it goes. And he popped off for the big run last week. He is the pass catcher. Like if they're falling behind, Donta Foreman's not playing. Donta Foreman is in there to run the ball. So I have a little more interest in Jerome Ford, I think, than the field does. But he went from like, ooh, I think I want to play him to whatever, like if he fits, or if something makes sense. I like him as a bring back actually on like Burrow Chase stacks, but not a mega priority. But I think that he's in play. I do in about 5 or 6 minutes. I do have to run. I apologize to everyone. TJ is going to close the last 15 minutes of the show with Neil for me. I have to leave, but I want to talk about FanDuel quickly, and then we can still give our flag plants, and I'll let you and TJ close it out. Maybe handle some questions and some things we didn't get to. But Brian asked about, or says that he loves stacking the Bucks on FanDuel, and yeah, same. Really like that game overall. I think that game is maybe the best one of the slate. Top 5 for sure. Games on the slate on FanDuel. Pricing is fine. To me, though, Mike Evans is like one of the standout tournament plays of the slate on FanDuel. I like Baker too. CeeDee's fine, but I really, really like that game, and I really like Mike Evans. What do you think about Tampa and just that game for FanDuel?
Yeah, did you see the coach speak? Maybe it wasn't coach speak index, but Baker apparently said this week that he cares more about Mike Evans hitting the 1,000 yards than Mike Evans does.
That's good.
That's very good. That's very good for Mike
Baker's
Evans.
Going to throw it to him.
Especially against the Cowboys, where like you should have success if you're getting the ball thrown to you quite a bit. So yeah, I love Mike Evans. I'm with you on that. Going to play a good amount of Evans. Baker looks like a very strong quarterback option on FanDuel. Also, 8,100. Jalen McMillan, only 5,800 on FanDuel is actually pretty intriguing to me. Doesn't like pop in terms of projection, even point per dollar, but like he's shown some big upside in recent weeks. The coach pick has been really strong on Jalen McMillan. I read it was like, it all starts with practice. You can tell when he's, playing with intentionality in practice, and he's looking really good this week. So I like McMillan on FanDuel at 5,800. And then you got, Rico Dowdle looks good, only 7,300. Jake Ferguson's only 5,300, and you can always play Lamb also. I think that looks like really, really fun game to play a bit on FanDuel.
Yeah, and Donnie says Cade Otton is out. He hasn't really been. What a strange season for Cade Otton, by the way. Was useless when they had Godwin and Evans. Godwin goes down. I think it was ultimately when both Evans and Godwin got hurt, right? That they just like built the offense out of Cade Otton. We were
for like 4 weeks.
We were like 5,700 Cade Otton. We're like, is the best point per dollar tight end. Like, what the hell is going on? Evans comes back and it's like 3 or 4 targets every week for Cade Otton. So I don't think it matters a ton for McMillan, but it certainly does not hurt. It's like the Penix thing is like, it may not be better, but it can't be worse. It cannot be worse. So I'm in for McMillan. I'm in for the Bucs. I'm in for that game. I did want to ask, because there's a bunch of questions about basically this, like, let's call it sub 6K ish on down wide receivers on DraftKings. Because like every game we talked about, like there's like a guy in there, right? Every quarterback has a wide receiver you can stack with from, let's just call it BTG. Man. Cooper Kupp is there at 65, Garrett Wilson at 66, London, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, JSN, right? Juwan Jennings. Do you have any form of like priorities there, or is it just as simple as like your quarterback, right? You're kind of setting your game stack, quarterback stack stuff, and then those wide receivers, your exposure to them is flowing through that?
I think it's largely the latter, where it's going to flow through that. If I'm picking out favorites in that group, I really like Jacoby Myers here at 5,800 against Jacksonville. He might be my favorite. Juwan Jennings right there at 5,900. I don't know how much to let the weather scare me off. No, I think it's still probably Keenan Allen, DJ Moore after those two. Thielen looks good. I really like Marv at ownership. Like, doesn't pop as much projection wise, but I still really like him just because he's getting sub like 5% ownership. Marv looks great.
Any Debo? 5,200 Debo Samuel without Brandon
Ayuk
and CMC.
I'll probably have a little bit of Debo just forced in there
tempted.
because he's so cheap. Like it's hard not to have a little bit of interest. Rome also a fun dart throw at like virtually zero ownership plus some leverage. So he's kind of in that, Marvin Harrison tier where it's like doesn't really pop in terms of projection, not really a priority in terms of like the number of my lineups that he gets into, but a priority in the sense that I'm going to be definitely over the field on both Rome and Marv Harrison. But like DK Metcalf's only 5,500. Like, man, there's so many. It is tough to rank them because I really like so many of them, and I'll probably be above the field on most of the ones that I do like in that range.
But I think to your point earlier, that's like there's so many. That's why we're living here, right? Like I'm probably not going to end up with Jamar Chase. It's not because I don't love Jamar Chase. I want to get a team with Jamar Chase, but if I lose out on Chase, like we drafted a bunch of these dudes in like the first, second, third round of fantasy drafts, of best ball drafts over the summer, and they're like all 5K. It's like I can get 3 guys with paths to double-digit targets in and they're probably good at football, right? Like it's just tough to turn down this range. I did just want to say I'm really tempted by Debo. I get it. Look, it's bad. The season is bad. Last week, the drop was bad. He looks bad. The Niners look bad. Everything. But there's no Brandon Ayuk, and there's no Christian McCaffrey, and there's no every other running back. Like, he has gotten 7 carries in the last 2 weeks, and he did get 7 targets last week. It's like, if he's not washed, he is the best tournament play of the slate by a wide margin. It's just that he might, he might not be same old Debo. So
yeah. What are how excited or worried, I guess, would you be if I told you at the beginning of the season you could you could fit ATN, Jonathan Taylor, Marvin Harrison Jr., DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel, Tyreek Hill, all in the same lineup.
Jake Ferguson, Sam Laporta, whatever, like all of like smash. And they're useless. They're all
top one for
They're
sure.
all, right.
They're all
Very sad.
useless. We're talking about Chuba Hubbard and Adam Thielen and stuff over these
Of
guys.
all the Martingales, I think DK Metcalf's probably my favorite for this week with a little squeaky wheel narrative.
I like it.
Kinda like that, yeah.
I'm gonna jump. TJ's gonna take you guys down the home stretch here. I have to give a flag plant. Neil, you missed it. I finally hit one. We're 1 for 15 or something, give or take. Devontae Adams, baby. So this one ain't gonna work. Yeah. Last week we hammered Devontae Adams. I'm gonna go a little bit off the beaten path though. I am gonna go Josh Downs as like that's my contrarian wide receiver pivot in that range. I'm looking for some of those pivots there. I think no Alec Pierce is a big deal. I think that the Titans we want to throw on them. And if Anthony Richardson can, I guess it's in the dome at least, so maybe it won't get caught up in the wind like Caleb's passes. If he can have any success through the air, I think it's a big Josh Downs game. So super into that. And I'll get out of here. And these guys can lead you guys up to lock and crunch time and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next week in week 17. Good luck in your semifinals. Cheers.
Well, I kind of want to go through our flag plants at the same time now, and then we can spend the rest of the time going through questions, just because on that note, we're already talking about it, and I've been excited to bring mine up because it's somebody we haven't mentioned once on a show this morning yet, and it is gross. It is disgusting, but it's going to win the Millie Maker. Who's your big flag plant today?
Wait, you go first. You already know who yours is. I know you just teased it. Like, so you want me to go first, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready for my flag plant.
Fine. Mine was going to be like the big epic conclusion, I mean, not at all because it's so gross. This is the winner of the Millie Maker today. It's going to be in a double stack. Mac Jones is my flag plant play today. We want to play Brenton Strange. We want to play Brian Thomas Jr. There are a few matchups better than the Las Vegas Raiders, and Mac Jones actually looked okay lately. Mac Jones is my flag plant today at GPP, is projecting for 2% ownership.
Yeah, I think that is it is gross. I want to hate it, but like I get it. I get why you want to go to Mac Jones. I'm gonna go less contrarian, maybe less fun. I'm gonna go with Kyler. It is probably gonna be my biggest flag plant because I really like mixing him with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride and having some doubles and some single stacks. So I want to mix that one up so many different ways that I think probably Kyler's going to be my biggest stand on the slate.
How many lineups you going with today, and who are some of the guys that you're going to be most over the field on?
One over 150. I actually don't know how many exactly. I think I'm maxing out like the mini max and a $5 contest or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna have a ton of different quarterbacks. Sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Who are some of the players you're going to be most over the field on in those lineups?
Yeah, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. will be certainly one of them. Kyler, I'm going to have a ton of. Michael Penix, along with his pass catchers, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase. I'm going to be forcing my way above the field on both. I still think I'm going to have above the field on Caleb. Maybe not the receivers. We'll see. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to play that. I am going to be playing a ton of AOC with Jacoby Myers. I'm probably going to be significantly over the field on. I will be over the field on like Romo Dunze, but only because he's getting 1% ownership, and I'm probably going to shoot for somewhere around 10% there, which is significantly over the field. Yeah, it's I like DK Metcalf, as you said, a fun one to martingale. I'll be over the field there. Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, so many different players. I don't know exactly who my biggest stand over the field is going to be.
Yeah, I'm playing 30 lineups today, and the way that I'm going about it is I'm just running a super tight running back core and then mixing and matching different double stacks. Like I'm playing 30 lineups, and I think I have 10 different quarterbacks in those 30 lineups just because I'm going basically, hey, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, Bijan Robinson as the three guys I'm trying to play as much as I can. Then when I have the more expensive stacks, then that's when I'm mixing in some of the cheaper running backs, lower owned plays. But I basically just have like Penix, Jones, all of the ugly ones today. Like I up to Caleb Williams and Geno Smith and Kyler Murray, but all of the ugly ones like Drew Lock and Mason Rudolph. I'm trying all of those guys with the chorus of really good running backs that we have so far. Let's go. I'm interested you're taking this and two and I have a little friendly argument in the chat. They want to know, why do people keep saying that the Raiders are a good matchup when they haven't been giving up big scores to receivers all season long? My rebuttal is, well, they're getting blown out all season long. So receivers don't have to have lots of targets against them because the running backs are just doing it. Maybe that's not the case with Jacksonville. But then they said they only gave up 15 points to Atlanta last week. Well, yeah, that's why Kirk Cousins is no longer starting. And that's why it's Michael Penix, because Kirk Cousins has been the worst quarterback in the league this year. And so I do still really like the Raiders matchup, and I'm feeling good. I mean, I don't feel good about Mac Jones. Who are we kidding? Like, I don't feel good about it at all. But I feel good about trying it at super duper low ownership when nobody else is getting there, but they still want to play the pass catchers. Let's go back to take some questions from chat. How many carries do you think Debo's getting today?
4.
4 carries for Debo. I like it. Good projection. I'll take the over. We'll set it at 4.5. You got 4. I got 5. Winner gets a high 5 and a handshake. Nice. Terry McLaurin or JSG. I'm wondering if that was JSN. Who's JSG?
Where is this?
Just from Richard Corton in the YouTube chat.
All right.
I have to assume that probably meant, are they almost the same price on FanDuel?
Sorry, who are the two? Oh, McLaurin or JSG on FanDuel.
I assume they meant JSN.
Yeah, let's see. I'm just going to look at the prices. So on FanDuel, McLaurin is, yeah, they are 8,000 for McLaurin, 7,900 for JSN. That's a good question. I think probably JSN, maybe, I guess at the same price tag. It's a little bit tough there. Maybe I go McLaurin, like, because he's like the clear alpha on his team. JSN kind of feels like it recently, but I think of those two on FanDuel, because they're so close in price, I think I slightly lean toward McLaurin.
Is Aaron Jones in your player pool today? Somebody asking about him. That Minnesota-Seattle game is interesting because it seems like it's just going completely overlooked. I don't think anybody's really getting to Minnesota or Seattle today. These are two offenses that have like been optimal, like projected as optimal all season long, and have actually won tournaments this year, but nobody's really playing them. What do you have Aaron Jones in your player pool?
Yeah, he'll be in my player pool. I'm not like, he's not a big stand that I'm taking, but I think that, you know, he gets enough volume in a pretty fine matchup against the Seahawks. It's like they're basically league average in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to running backs. So yeah, I think I'll have some Aaron Jones at what is his projected ownership? It's pretty low, I believe.
Gotta be pretty low.
Let's see. Hang on, where is ownership here? 9.5% ownership, so not as low as I was thinking it would be. But yeah, I'll have 5 to 10% Aaron Jones.
Let's see what we got next here. A lot of talk about Caleb Williams, and I think you and Eric brought up a really good point that a way to get different with Caleb Williams is going to Junze over DJ Moore today. I still think I'd want Keenan Allen at that lower ownership. But DJ Moore is looking like the guy who's going to be going the most overweight, over-owned there. What do you think about Tim Patrick today in tournaments?
I don't think I'm getting Tim Patrick. I mean, what's it like? I haven't looked at his. Let's see. Let me look at his recent production. Like he's he's been fine, but I don't know. He's more of like if it were a 2 or 3 game slate. Over the past 5 games, 26 targets for Tim Patrick. So I guess over 5 targets per game
over the last
past 5.
2 is 15, and I think that's why he's
Okay.
popping a little bit as touchdowns in back-to-back games with the 15 targets.
What is the price tag?
4,500 on DK. I have him. It's a little higher than I'd want, but I have him in one of my Caleb Williams lineups and then one Jared Goff lineup as well.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Like in game stacks, I think he could make some sense. 4,500, a little bit more. Like I'm not excited about playing Tim Patrick, but yeah, I think seems playable at 4,500.
What about Patrick Taylor Jr. today in tournaments? I think it's doable. I have Patrick Taylor in a few Josh Allen, Joe Burrow lineups, but I'm not going out of my way to play him. It's just when I'm trying to pay up for contrarian quarterbacks.
I like to play today. I thought he was going to be chalk, to be honest, but then he came in 5,200 on DraftKings. He's only 4,800 on FanDuel, so I particularly do like him on FanDuel.
So,
I think
before
it's
I forget, somebody asked this earlier in chat. Like they asked me for specifically like who stands out on FanDuel today, and I was like, I mean, I don't really know that anybody stands out in a big way over DK, but I do want to take that back because it's Mike Evans who you guys brought up right before the transition, and Patrick Taylor are the 2 guys that I think would stand out to me on FanDuel.
Yeah, when you're cheaper on FanDuel than you are on DraftKings, that's usually a place that kind of stands out. But like I do think like the 49ers backfield has been a pretty valuable thing. And I think everybody at this point is kind of assuming that that's going to go away. Like, oh, but now they're playing Patrick Taylor. They're number 5 running back, whatever. So they're just going to throw the ball more. And I think that's kind of an assumption that's being made around the industry. But it's not a sure thing that he's not going to continue to see, 20 touches in the game. And he's only 4,800 on FanDuel. So I do think that Patrick Taylor is a pretty strong option in DFS. TJ already could end up being one of the biggest mistakes of my season-long career, which is a very, very long career playing season-long. I started Isaiah Pacheco last minute. I subbed out Patrick Taylor for Isaiah Pacheco, and it's not necessarily going to be a big mistake because it could be Patrick Taylor also puts up 4 fantasy points, but right now I'm like, damn it! In my main league, I made the mistake of playing Isaiah Pacheco, and then of course it's Kareem Hunt who's looking much better for one game. So I'm bummed there, but I'll make up for it by playing Taylor in DFS. I think it looks like a really strong play.
I have a very ugly decision to make, and that's I'm in the semifinals for one of my higher dollar leagues, and the question is Dalton Kincaid or Amir Abdullah in the flex position.
Oof, yeah, that's
so
tough.
I'm in a tough spot for that one. I guess I'm looking at it right now. I could get Zach Ertz, Kyle Pitts, Malik Washington. Not a lot of other great options to go with in that one. I think I'm going to ride with Kincaid, but I don't feel very good about it. Let's get a few more questions in, then we'll bring in Chief. We'll give Neil some time to set his lineups before the slate. What do you think about Achane today with Jalen Waddle out? I initially didn't love him because I don't think their offense is going to be doing that great. Like, I don't think this is going to be a good day for their offense. Their offensive line is destroyed, and they're facing a San Fran team that's getting way healthier on defense. You got Nick Bosa back for today, and Bosa's a guy that drastically changes their defense. Massive splits differences with him on versus off. Having said that, I don't think Tua is going to have any time to throw, and so Achane very well could catch 10 passes out of the backfield today.
Yeah, it's been like the difference in games with Tua versus without Tua for Achane has been stark. He's been so good in games with Tua this year. Over the past 5 weeks, 60 carries for Achane, that's 12 per game, and 31 targets, seeing more than 6 targets per game. Just really strong usage, and that's with Waddle in. Now you get Waddle out, potentially he gets even better usage, and not getting crazy high ownership, 11% or so. Like it's not nothing. It's not a big stand for me. I think I'm gonna be with the field at 11% because like the range of outcomes is wide, but the ceiling is clearly there, even against a sort of tough San Francisco defense. I think the ceiling when you're getting 12 carries and 6 targets per game with potential for more is just always massive. So yeah, I think Achane looks like a pretty strong play.
All right, this is a little unreasonable because it's a 5v5.
Oh God.
Who'd be
Um,
Henry? Henry is a receiver.
Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry, probably the tight end. Yep, good call. All right, here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Khalil Shakir, Hunter Henry, Patrick Taylor. That's one side.
Yep.
So a Bill stack with Saquon and Taylor, or Michael Penix, Chase Brown, Calvin Ridley, Trey McBride, Chuba.
The latter. Yeah, I like the second one a lot better with Penix, Chase Brown, Ridley, McBride, and Chuba. Looks like a really strong 5-man core there.
Top stack for a 3-entry $3,000 person contest on DK. It's the Jaguars for me. As disgusting that is to say, it's the Jaguars for me. How about you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So on DraftKings, let me think for a second about DraftKings. Maybe it might be AOC for me. Like just go in with AOC, Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers. I think that's
Me and you
really
be
fun.
the only guys in the world just walked into the Jaguars and Raiders
the
game
grossest game. If not that, it would probably be Kyler with Marv and Trey McBride, probably.
How do you like Njoku on FanDuel? Not with DTR as quarterback. That's a Winston only type of thing for me. Josh Allen and Ray Davis paired together with potential blowouts. I want to avoid the Bills running back situation because it could be Cook, it could be Davis, it could be Ty Johnson. We have no idea which one it's going to be. It could be a little bit of all of them, but with so many good running backs today, I think Ray Davis is a little bit too thin. We got Kyler Murray as one slate breaking big stand today. We have Mac Jones as the other. Sheesh, Chief, help us out here. We need some. Who's breaking the slate today? Who's your biggest stand?
It's Drake May. I'm just kidding. That's a blitz joke, by the way. Last time I got assigned a quarterback, it was Josh Allen. So I just wanted to.
I was gone for 1 week, and they gave Chief Josh Allen at his quarterback. What did he do? He puts up 55 points. I was not letting that happen this week.
So honestly, as crazy as this sounds, it's somebody that you guys were talking about, and I think because of fear of the unknown, we've decided that we're just writing this team off. Guys, every running back in the San Francisco stable has just blown through their value when given an opportunity. And I mean, yeah, I get it. Like, it's Patrick Taylor, but are they going to run Kyle Juszczyk out there running back? No. Are they going to run Israel Abanikanda out there? Probably a little bit. But typically, I mean, when we saw Mason, he walked right up there and got 20 carries. Like, we saw Garindo, he was gonna walk right up there and get 20 carries. And so I just don't understand how Patrick Taylor doesn't get 20 carries, and I'm just gonna give him 2 or 3 targets. I'm not giving him like 6, but 20 carries and 3 targets for a $200 running back on DraftKings and a $4, especially on FanDuel. Like, DraftKings maybe, but like FanDuel, he's like 4,400. It's unbelievable. So 4,800, excuse me. So I think for me, my big stand is Patrick Taylor in terms of what I feel like is obvious value, but usually we get guys like this at 20, 30%. He's like 7% this week, 5%, whatever. It's really low. So that's like I feel like this is obvious, but nobody else does. So I'm just going to play it. And then outside of that, I picked on Jacksonville every single week. And yeah, I know, like, it's the Raiders, but God, aren't Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers just going to get all the work today? Like, aren't they just going to catch every single target? That's exaggeration, but I don't. So, and Jacoby Myers really isn't getting a ton of ownership like I thought. So that's kind of how I'm flag planting today, and I'll let the chips fall where they may with those guys.
Love it. I feel like we great minds think alike. We both love AOC, the doubles there, and Patrick Taylor. We are very much on the same page there. So love that. Is it just you two on the show now? Is it
Yeah.
Usually there's like 4 people after me and Erik are done. It's just the 2 of you. Okay.
Yeah, just the 2 of
All
us hanging out right now. We're stretched thin with a lot of people got busy during the holidays and things like that. But before you get out of here, Neil, I know you answered it in chat, but I forgot to actually get your take on the Ray Davis thing. I kind of dismissed it, but somebody in chat, Goombas, is absolutely right. Backup running backs in the Millie Maker, that's your jam.
It is very much my jam, and Ray Davis not getting a ton of ownership. I'm looking at FanDuel right now. He is 5,200, getting virtually 0 ownership. I haven't thought about him much for DFS, but he is on one of my DraftKings remaining best ball teams, and seeing him there was like, I can kind of see it. Like you can kind of make a case for Ray Davis. Like maybe they get up a lot in the first half against a terrible or a mismatch here against the Patriots. So Ray Davis 4,700 could get a lot of work in the second half at 0 ownership, and they work him in regardless against a beatable defense. So I think it makes some sense for Millie Maker style at 0 ownership.
There you go. Any other final takes before you get out of here, Neil? Or if not, feel free to start building those lineups. Good luck today.
I'll just say I don't think that Erik and I talked much about Jahmyr Gibbs. Maybe Erik did early on in the show, and I feel like that's one of those, like, I just have to say it. People who don't have projections don't know, like, Jahmyr Gibbs is just going to be chalk, and he's like obvious chalk. So that's why we're not talking about it. It's not that he's not somebody worth talking about. It's like Jahmyr Gibbs just like stands out as a projection wise. He stands out above everybody else. So like almost doesn't feel worth talking about because it's so obvious. But for those who are not as involved day to day in fantasy, it's worth stating like Jahmyr Gibbs is an awesome value today. So that'll be my final take.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Neil. Gibbs is a guy that I understand we're projecting for 37% ownership on him right now, but I understand that'll be way higher in, single entry, especially the higher dollar single entry stuff. But I still don't think it's high enough. Like, his optimal rate's higher than his projected ownership right now. I want to play either Gibbs, Reynolds, or the Bears defense in every single lineup today, because I think if Gibbs fails, it's definitely going to be a Bears D or Reynolds that has some success, or, of course, a Goff stack would absolutely work in that situation as well. It's time for NFL Crunch Time, leading you right up until lock. I am TJ. This is Chief. You got us now. You got us back later tonight for the Sunday night football showdown slate. And hopefully we can help you make some money today. Ross Abraham says, Chief, you always save me money on the morning grind for NBA. Who you got for me that's going to save the day for NFL that everyone is shying away from? You already brought up Patrick Taylor as somebody you think is going heavily under-owned today. We're going to take some questions from the chat. We'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. We'll go to the YouTube chat second. As long as YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our shows. We're doing a pretty good job of hitting that like button so far, but I'd love to get us up over 200. Help us battle that YouTube algorithm. Smash that like button, please. And thank you. Chief, do you got any initial thoughts on the slate, or should we dive right into position by position?
I just think my initial thoughts are, man, I feel like everybody's so cheap this week. I feel like at every position, you just got cheap players. So you should be able to build mostly whatever you want this week. And that's kind of how I feel like it. So let's have some fun and let's build some quality lineups.
All right. Well, let's start off at the quarterback position, or even, before the quarterback position. I actually like to start things off with stacks as a whole, because sometimes stacks aren't the same as the quarterback position. I love Josh Allen today. I don't know I necessarily love him as a full stack. I would rather play him naked. But Who are you prioritizing today at quarterback where it is so spread out? Like, I think for cash on FanDuel, you're going between Penix, Richardson, maybe Joe Burrow or Josh Allen. And then on DraftKings, it's Penix or Anthony Richardson. But for tournaments, like, it's so spread out.
Yeah, can I just say, I know that this stack hasn't won all the money like every week, and I know they're going into Chicago, hint, hint. But I feel like everybody's on Jahmyr Gibbs and nobody's on Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams. Hear me out here, TJ. I'm not saying Jahmyr Gibbs isn't going to smash. I'm saying, isn't all the production about to come from like four or five guys? Goff, Gibbs, St. Brown, Williams, Laporta. Like that to me, that's where all the ownership's coming from. So I like Goff, Brown, Jameson Williams to get some leverage off of Gibbs. I also like Goff, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, or Goff, Gibbs, Jameson Williams. Like, you're not going to see that. Everybody's going to play Jahmyr Gibbs.
Goff, Patrick, Laporta, Williams together, a triple stack with Goff.
But you get what I'm saying? Like nobody's playing the actual Lions, who they're coming off this game, TJ, this weird game where they played Buffalo. I mean, high scoring game. Buffalo, obviously won that game. Like, I feel like the Lions just got to come out hungry today. So that's what I'm doing. Or that's a stack that I feel like no one is actually interested in playing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you there. I have a couple Goff stacks in there. I'm going a really tight running back pool and then just mixing and matching my stacks. I have a few Caleb stacks, some Anthony Richardson double stacks, some Penix double stacks, one Aaron Rodgers, a Brock Purdy, an O'Connell, a Geno, a Joe Burrow, a Mac Jones. I brought it up. Pardon me. It's making me sick how bad of a play this is, but I'm doing it anyways. Mac Jones double stack is my favorite tournament stack on the slate. Nobody's playing Jalen Hurts. Nobody's playing Jaden Daniels. Tough matchups, but these are elite quarterbacks that nobody is getting to today. Reminder, in cash on DraftKings, you're going Richardson or Penix, and cash on FanDuel, you're going Richardson, Penix, Burrow, or Josh Allen, depending on the type of salary savings you're looking at here. Let's go running back position. You brought up Patrick Taylor already. He's not coming up near optimal on FanDuel or on DraftKings, but that's just because he's not projecting very well. We do think that there's a solid chance he could get that full workload San Francisco backfield touches. And then if that happens, then we're definitely going to be wanting to play him. But I do think on FanDuel specifically at 4,800, that's where he's looking at a borderline cash game play. Jahmyr Gibbs is the absolute lock at cash game, though. You're playing him there. I love him in tournaments anyways. I got him in about 90% of my lineups. Connor, Achane, Bijan, Chase Brown, Chuba, Kyron Williams. So many running backs in great spots today. To me, it's Gibbs in a tier of his own than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, Gibbs is a guy that, once again, I think he's going to be fine, TJ, because obviously he can do it in both facets of the game. And now it feels like they will have to give him more work. Now, I do think they're not going to give him 100% of the work, but he'll probably be near 80. You get what I'm saying? And so that's why this is such a benefit for him. So I'm with you. Let me just say, I do like James Conner quite a bit today. He's picking up a fair amount of ownership. But then there's these other guys. Like, why don't we want to play Kyron, TJ? And I know I'm hopping around at running back here, so I'm sorry. But Kyron's been getting serious work down the stretch. He's like one touchdown away from like 25 fantasy points every week at this point. Like, I don't even think people realize he's just getting like so many touches. Do you get what I'm saying, TJ? And the past 2 weeks, he's had 29 rushing attempts. Man, Kyron could be a slate breaker at some point, so did want to mention him also in kind of that top tier of running back.
I agree with you 100%. There's just more guys that I like a little bit better. Chase Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson are really going to be the three main priorities for me. I do have a little bit of Kyron. I agree with you. I just like those guys a bit more. And then Chuba and Connor, I am getting to a decent amount of them, but more of just when I can't afford Gibbs, Bijan, Brown, that's when I'm looking to go to those guys. Patrick Taylor is the best salary saver, especially on FanDuel if you need to go all the way down. I saw some questions about Jerome Ford before. I have Ford in one lineup where I'm triple stacking Joe Burrow. That's the only time I'm playing Jerome Ford is in as a salary saver specifically for a Joe Burrow stack. But I think this is a slate where you want to keep a pretty tight running back pool. No need to mess around mixing and matching at this position a lot, just because 6-7 guys are probably going to have 25, 30 points today. And so you're going to need that from those running backs position. This isn't a day where 12 is likely going to be doing it for you at that position. Let's go over to wide receiver. On both sites, DJ Moore is looking like he's going to be the chalk. He's extra cheap on FanDuel at 6,300. He's a great cash game play, but somebody I'm looking to get underweight on in tournaments because he's just going a little bit too highly owned for me today in tournaments. Who do you like at wide receiver?
I do like Jacoby Myers quite a bit. Hoping he continues to get his target volume. Same thing for Brian Thomas. Hopefully he continues to get his target volume. I did hear you guys talking a little bit about Deebo Samuel on DraftKings. I do think, like, man, at 5,200, super cheap. A lot of guys out. As much as I like Patrick Taylor, I think Deebo needs to be in there as well. But then you've got like obvious guys that people just aren't going to play today because they're just a little bit more expensive, like Puka Nacua, who's going to continue to get all this work, but nobody's going to play him today, TJ. So he's a guy that I like. I like Terry McLaurin today, who his volume has seemingly picked up, but I feel like this is a game they should be behind at some point, TJ. So for me, you know, Terry McLaurin, I feel like his targets should be fairly stable today. We look at the Dolphins and, you know, missing Waddle, like Jonnu Smith and Tyreek Hill, you know, should be getting work. You know, like I said, we already talked about Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas, like those guys, but I just feel like those guys should get tons of work today, and they're going overlooked. Adam Thielen just keeps getting 7 to 10 targets, and I know he's a guy that people are actually, you know, attempting to play today. I think because of the uncertainty of the Falcons passing game, we're not sure what they're going to do with Drake London, all these guys, but I'll have some Drake London as well to pair with Penix. And then once again, I'm going back to this, like Amon-Ra. He's not even showing up on the list today, TJ. That's crazy. I mean, this guy is, you know, a week removed in a big game against Buffalo. He had 14 targets, and now they're down one of their running backs. So I'm assuming they're going to try to get the passing game going a little bit more to try to save Gibbs. They can't just hand him the ball 50 times. So I really like Amon-Ra St. Brown today a ton.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I personally don't find myself getting there, but I do understand the concept of it 100%. Same with Deebo. It's like, I get it. I just don't think I don't think I could be getting there. From a cash perspective on FanDuel, you're picking a Bears receiver, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, probably DJ Moore. One Bengals receiver, T. Higgins or Jamar Chase is fine. Nacua is all right, but probably tough to get to. I think Brian Thomas and DJ Moore would probably be the first two cash receivers I think I would be using on FanDuel. And then over on DraftKings, once again, DJ Moore looking like somebody you're going to be using in cash. Highest optimal rate, highest projected ownership of any receiver. Metcalf is fine, but once again, Brian Thomas and DJ Moore would be the first two I'd be plugging in for cash, and then looking to fill it out with a Myers, a Metcalf, a Jawan Jennings, a Keenan Allen. Those are maybe even JSN. That's probably the range I would be looking at in cash.
TJ, Yeezy, let me throw something here. I know Yeezy mentioned something about the weather. I think he's talking about the weather in Chicago. Hear me out here. Hear me out. I understand it's going to be windy. It's going to be cold. But Amon-Ra was never a guy that's getting the 40, 50-yard targets. Amon-Ra's in that, 5 to 12-yard range. And so I think he's going to be somewhat of a safety blanket. So if a lot of the targets are going to be catchable, that helps Amon-Ra. I mean, if he gets 10 targets, 9 catches for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, or something, you get what I'm saying? Like, that's well within the range of possibility for him today because his targets are more catchable typically. So once again, I'm not saying the weather isn't going. I'm not saying it's not going to be windy and cold, but I think the targets that he does get aren't going to be all these downfield shots. I think they're going to be short to intermediate routes, which is his wheelhouse. I think he's going to eat today.
Yeah, I like it. I do worry a little bit about how Goff's going to do today in a cold weather game. That's typically not his jam. He likes a dome. He likes the nice weather, but we'll see. It's Jared Goff. It's the Lions. These guys have been torching people all season long, and so I have no problem with the Goff to Amon-Ra whatsoever. I do think it is somewhat interesting in large field tournaments to throw out some Bears defense, though, because of the weather, because of how we've seen Goff perform in those situations. 1 pick 6, all of a sudden they're looking pretty great. It's not even wild, I don't think, to play Gibbs and the Bears defense together because of how cheap that Bears defense is today. Let's go pivot over to the tight end position. I don't need long here. It's Brenton Strange. I have a lock button on Brenton Strange today. I am playing Brenton Strange in every single lineup. It's one of the reasons why that I like it's one of the reasons why I like Mac Jones today, but I'd be lock buttoning Strange on DK for sure. On FanDuel maybe, but I have Strange at 100% of my lineups. I do have some McBride, I do have some Bowers, and I do have some Laporta and Kittle and Jonnu. But Brenton Strange is also in all of those lineups. How about you? Who do you like at tight end?
Yeah, definitely like Strange. I have him on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I do have Jonnu currently. Let me just make that clear. But that could change because I feel like I might be able to get a little upgrade here, TJ. So, but yeah, love Strange on DraftKings where he's basically 3,500. I think he's 3,500, isn't he? Yeah, 3,500. That's a really good price. For a guy that should be, racking up targets. I think it's a good spot. So should be a fun slate. And I also like Zach Ertz today for what it's worth because I feel like Washington's going to have to play from behind at some point. So that's why I like them so much, TJ. I just feel like I said at some point, I think they'll be behind. I also like the guys up top. Like I like Brock Bowers probably more than anybody else in the top range, but I do like Jonnu Smith at 5,500 as a discount. But if I had to play one guy's Brock Bowers against Jacksonville.
Yeah, I like Bowers a lot too. I like Bowers. I like McBride. I just find myself needing that salary to get up to running backs a little bit more than the tight ends, which, to be fair, that's what most people are going to be doing. But I'm only playing them in those guys in double tight end lineups for me this week. Any big defense takes? I do have one that to me is the standout play for tournaments. Cash, literally just do whoever fits. If you can get up to the Bengals, great. Vegas is fine as a cheap one. Buffalo would be ideal if you can get all the way up there, but it might be tough. Tennessee is a viable punt. Seattle is decent in the mid-tier. But I got one team that I love today for tournaments, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. We got some weather in that game. Tua Tagovailoa is dealing with a lot of injuries at the running back, at the I mixed it up. There is no weather in that game, but Tua is dealing with some offensive lineman issues, and Nick Bosa is expected to be back for this one. And that San Francisco 49er defense is a different beast when Bosa's in the lineup. And so I really like them today for tournaments. That's where I'm going to be looking to go to. How about you?
Mine is Cincinnati. At home, getting DTR. I'm not expecting DTR to have some amazing day. I think the projections like him a lot more than I do. So I'm expecting Cincinnati to be able to make some noise today. Hopefully they prove me right.
Apparently, Anthony Nancy saying in chat that both starting offensive tackles are expected to play for Miami today. I apologize. I missed that. Still do like the 49ers defense. But that does bump things down a little bit for me that both of those guys are going to play. I had missed that when it came out. We got about 20 minutes left until lock. We got lots of time for some QQs. I do want to get your takes on some player props today, though, Chief, because people can get expert picks for all your favorite sites with Props and Pick'em. Our elite sports betting package and fantasy Pick'em package features bets and analysis from all your favorite RotoGrinders experts. Props and Pick'em also includes tools and data powered by our hardworking projections team. Do not make a bet without it. And you can take those Props and Pick'em projections that you got, and you can bring them over to Splash Sports. You can use promo code ROTO10 whenever you play $100 in quick picks. You'll get another $50 right back. All you got to do is go to splashsports.com/RotoGrinders homepage, and you can find yourself some great quick picks to play over there. Do you have any in particular that you for props that you like today? I know you're often helping out with the Props and Pick'em package stuff. We built a 3-man card earlier in the show with Jerome Ford under rushing yards, Puka Nacua over 87.5 receiving yards, and Brian Thomas more than 5.5 receptions. The Brian Thomas more than 5.5 receptions, that's my favorite on the slate. Who do you like in terms of for some player props today?
I like Jaden Daniels more than 30.5 passing attempts. Once again, I feel like they're going to be behind in this game at some point. So that's one that I was able to get in more than 30.5. I do like Marvin Harris, not Marvin Harrison. I have that one, but Demario Douglas less than 6 or 6.5 targets if you can get it. I like that one quite a bit also. But Jaden Daniels more than 30.5 passing attempts is one of my favorites today. Yeah, absolutely one of my favorites.
I like it. So that on Splash Sports would give us a 4-man pick up to 12x. You want to just go mine Chiefs favorites. It's Brian Thomas and Jaden Daniels today for the our two favorite player props. Somebody asked in chat on scale of 1 to 10, how annoying are the fake stream bots? Derek Ringering asks. It's 10. And of course, he says that there's two that just absolutely explode here in the chat, but we got rid of them. FanDuel tournaments. Who do you like better today, Bijan or Barkley?
Barkley.
It's Bijan.
But the correct answer is both.
Yeah, both are fantastic. I love Bijan Robinson today for tournaments. We don't have a ton of value on the slate, which makes it difficult, but I think there's enough to get to some Bijan Robinson, and DFS is all about value. It's the busiest time in the sports calendar, which means it's the perfect time to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. For a limited time, get your first month of combo access for just $79.99. That's only $5 more than NBA Premium. So if you're getting NBA, you might as well get combo. Don't pass up this great value. We'll take some more questions. I'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. I'll go to YouTube second. YouTube, smash that like button for us. I said I wanted to get up over 200. Where are we at now? 156. That's nowhere close, YouTube. You want us to pay lots of attention to the YouTube as opposed to Discord. I need more likes from you. I need you to beat this battle up against Discord. And the way you do that is by smashing that like button. You're also going to want to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on all our shows, because Chief and I are going to be back tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time to talk about the Sunday night football game tonight. Spoiler alert, I love me some Mike Evans in that one. But we're going to be talking a lot about that game later tonight. We're still focused on the main slate right now. On DK tournaments, who you pick one, Debo or Patrick Taylor?
Give me Pat Taylor. I think his role is solidified.
Agreed. Patrick Taylor for me too. Robinson. Brian Robinson and Downs or Aaron Jones and Neighbors? I think
Brian Robinson, Downs. Aaron Jones, Neighbors is for sure the right answer.
Yeah. Yeah, couldn't agree more. What do you think about the Giants DST today as some leverage against Michael Penix?
I think it's a good idea, rookie quarterback. I personally still think Penix is going to be fine. Hopefully, we get something similar to Bo Nix, where Bo Nix played a lot of college football, and so has not had as rough of an adjustment period to NFL, life as, some other rookie quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson, who didn't play a lot of college football. Michael Penix, similar situation. Hopefully he comes in and is ready to go.
Coker or Wan'Dale Robinson? That is Coker to me by a fairly wide margin without Leggett today, but you're the Panthers guy. So what do you think there?
Should be fine. I don't think that's I think he'll be fine. Which is another reason why I think Adam Thielen's just going to get peppered even more today.
FanDuel Cash, who would be your favorite QB? For me, I still think it's Penix. Who would be your favorite cash quarterback?
FanDuel?
Yeah.
Yeah, Penix at 6K, man. You got to roll him out there. Even if he gets 16 fantasy points, trust me, that's enough.
Yeah, at that point, I might plug in the running backs I want, the receivers I want, and then just see how much salary I have left. And if I don't need the savings, I'm cool with Richardson. But I think I would probably be going the Michael Penix route. For me, season long, Baker Mayfield or Anthony Richardson?
Give me Mayfield tonight. Big game with the Cowboys. And we've seen Mayfield have some nice games in Jerry World. So, weather contained, like him a ton.
Another season-long question. A lot of people in playoffs this week. Good luck in your matchups. Alexander Madison, Keon Coleman, Michael Pittman, or Kendre Miller. To me, that's Kendre Miller by a lot. I think Miller is the clear option there, even though they're going to be losing. It's bad weather. He's probably going to be catching a lot of passes. It's Kendre Miller for me. GPP, Downs or Pittman to pair with A. Rich. That's Downs for me. How about you?
Man, tough times with that wide receiver room. The
What
right
is
answer
is doing both.
Yeah,
But
the right
one. It's Downs.
Yeah, I probably Downs. Downs has more raw upside right now, I think. Yeah.
Can you rank JSN, Neighbors, Jennings, and Myers on DK today?
JSN, Neighbors, and Myers.
Jennings, and Myers.
Okay. Myers, Neighbors, 1A, 1B. And then give me JSN Jennings, but Jennings still has the best weather. You get what I'm saying? But JSN right now, I feel like his target share is extremely solidified. Same for Jennings.
Yeah, for me, I think it goes Neighbors, Jennings, JSN, Myers, but all four are really great plays today. Achane and Puka or Connor and Jefferson? Oh, DK single entry. I like the Achane and Puka side a lot better.
Yeah, same.
DK Cash Core, Strange and Gibbs, absolutely. And QB preference would be Michael Penix. Who is your number one highest priority for DK Cash at receiver? I think the correct projection answer is DJ Moore, but who's your favorite?
I like JSN quite a bit at 6K.
I have 4,100 left at wide receiver for a DK large field tourney. Looking for the pardon me, highest upside player. Currently leading Adonai Mitchell. Thoughts or suggestions? I would probably only do Mitchell if I had Anthony Richardson as my quarterback. Otherwise, I think Malik Washington would be my guy. How about you?
Oh, man. I'm okay with Malik Washington. He saw, I think, 5-6 targets last week. Probably should see 6 more. That's the right call. That's the right call.
DK last piece, Adam Thielen or Devonta Smith. I really like both of them for tournaments today.
Give me Thielen. I think the targets are really going to be there today.
Any love for Tyreek Hill?
Sure. I don't, Tyreek, that Miami offense is just, I played that offense probably more than any other offense this year. They've just bit me so many times. But Tyreek should get the volume today because no Waddle means should be getting a few more targets his way, him and Jonnu.
Last spot for fantasy semifinals. You got Josh Downs, Rashad White, or McMillan.
Gosh.
I think Downs has the highest upside, and I think White has the safest floor.
Yeah, I wish I knew who else was in that build. Right now, I think I'd take White.
Yeah, like it depends who you're facing, right? Like I would go probably White. If you need 10 to 12 points for sure, White's going to be the guy to get you that. But I do think Downs probably has the higher ceiling. FanDuel, DeAndre Swift or Tyrone Tracy?
Swift.
FanDuel GPP, Laporta and Titans D or Kincaid and Bucks D? I think that's Laporta and Titans D for me. How about you?
Yep, same.
FanDuel Cash, Ridley, Bowers, and Raiders D or Brian Thomas, Strange, and Bengals D? Oh, I love that second one.
The second one, because I like the Bengals defense today anyway.
Yeah. Season-long question, Bengals defense or Colts defense? That is the Bengals defense by a lot. If you have access to them, they're arguably the very best defense on the slate this week. Or maybe the Bills. I think the Bills and the Bengals would be my two favorite, just from like a estimated raw points perspective. FanDuel tournament, Richardson, Mac Jones, or AOC. Well, that entirely depends on the rest of your team. If you're playing Strains and Brian Thomas, absolutely just load up some Mac Jones, but I wouldn't want to play Mac Jones or AOC naked. I'd play AOC with Myers and Bowers. I'd play Jones with Strange and Thomas. And Richardson you can play naked, but I also like playing him with Downs and Michael Pittman today. In decade-long league, it's playoffs. They've got Thielen starting with Christian Watson on the bench. Right decision? Yes, absolutely. Adam Thielen over Christian Watson today. DK GPP Chief, you want Neighbors or McBride in the flex?
Give me Neighbors.
Who you like better in season long, Kyler Murray or Jaden Daniels?
Kyler.
DK GPP, Nakua and the Bears defense or Devontae Adams and the Bengals defense?
Ooh.
I mean, if I'm not playing any Lions, I'd probably do the Bears one just because if the Lions go off, you're dead anyways. And if they don't, and you don't have them, the Bears defense is gonna look pretty good.
I'm high on the Bengals today, man. I'm going with the Bengals defense lineup one.
Especially assuming if you got some Lions in that lineup, then it's definitely the Devontae Adams and Bengals defense one. I think Adams is a pretty good GPP play today as well. We got about 5.5 minutes left to lock. Get your lineups in. FanDuel Cash, Adams and Chase Brown, or Jamar Chase and Chuba Hubbard?
Adams, Chase Brown.
Same page for me here. Kenneth Walker or Tyrone Tracy in my big money playoff league. Now, you would think because he practiced in full that it would be Kenneth Walker, but I'm seeing some weird reports that Zach Charbonnet is still going to be announced as the starter, and he's actually like one of the pregame captains today. I would go Tyrone Tracy. I think Walker is going to be fully splitting with Charbonnet today. I could see them being like 12 carries apiece.
God, yeah. That's a tough spot because Walker can still get there. I think I still think Walker's a better player. Give me Walker.
Steve is projected to lose by his fantasy season-long playoffs by 12, but making it to the semifinal, that's pretty good. Anything can happen in the playoffs. Those projections don't matter. So good luck to Steve. Good luck to everyone competing in their fantasy season-long playoffs this week, as well as to those playing DFS. Hopefully we can make some money today. And even if we don't on the main slate, you can come right back for Sunday Night Football tonight. Chief will be back 7 p.m. Eastern time. Smash the like button, hit the notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out when that show goes live. DK Cash, James Conner and Keenan Allen, or BTJ and Jacoby Myers?
Man, I like Myers way more than I like Keenan Allen today. BTJ Myers.
Will AJ Brown see Marshawn Lattimore today? Genuinely, I'm not sure. I don't know how they've been utilizing Lattimore since he's been in Washington. Having said that, there are very few corners in the league right now that are shadowing people. And so I don't think you have to worry too much about AJ Brown. I do like Devonta Smith better anyways because of his price, but I don't think you got to worry about AJ Brown. Like in season long, you're absolutely firing him up today. That's it for the YouTube questions. Going back to Discord, are you okay playing Chico Conquo and Brenton Strange as your cheap guys rather than the questionable wide receiver value? Chig, I would probably only want to play in a stack with Mason Rudolph. Otherwise, I don't think I'd get there. But I am okay going double cheap tight end for sure instead of to the receivers. I'd rather go instead of Chig, somebody like maybe like an Ertz or somebody like that instead, I think. FanDuel Cash 3v3, Chief. James Conner, Mike Evans, and Keenan Allen, or Chase Brown, Puka Nacua, and David Moore. Or probably DJ Moore. That wouldn't be David Moore. Definitely.
Right, start that over. Right? Start it over.
It's Brown, Puka, and DJ Moore.
Okay.
As long as that's DJ and not David, it's for sure Brown, Puka, and DJ Moore. Unless that's David, then it's the first one. But FanDuel single entry, who are your favorite plays from the Tampa and Dallas game tonight?
Is it FanDuel GPP?
Yeah.
Obviously, Evans and Lamb. Like those would be the two. I don't hate Baker either, though. Like, I don't think he's going to see a whole lot of ownership here. So, yeah. Like him.
FanDuel 7K, need a utility spot. I would go Jawan Jennings there for my favorite 7K play on FanDuel. Jawan Jennings, number one. Jacoby Myers would be Chiefs number one. I like Jennings better. Chief likes Robinson better, but one of those two guys for sure. Brian Robinson or Tyrone Tracy in season long. I would go Tyrone Tracy. TJ, do you agree it's Patrick Taylor over Deebo Samuel? Yes, absolutely. I do. I would go Taylor over Deebo Samuel today. 1 minute to lock. Get your lineups in. DK Cash, Jawan Jennings, or DJ Moore. Projections say it's DJ Moore. I like Jawan Jennings better.
Yeah, Jennings is going to get a lot of targets. I don't hate that. I don't hate that swap for sure.
Yeah, I like Jennings better. Projections do say DJ Moore, though, for what it's worth. Rashad White or Jordan Addison. I think that's got to definitely be Jordan Addison. What do you think?
Yep, like Addison a ton.
Even
in that wet game. Going to be a wet game, but I still like it.
Yeah, this does feel like a game where he could easily just get like a play action. All the guys in the wetness go forward for the run. They can't cut back in time, and he just catches a 60-yard bomb over the top. I could absolutely see that happening today. That'll do it for questions. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. Like I said, Chief and I will be back 7 p.m. Eastern time.
We'll be back.
We'll be back for some Sunday night football. Good luck today in all your DFS contests. Good luck today in all of your season-long contests. Happy holidays if this is the last time anybody's going to be tuning in. Regardless of what you celebrate, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, happy whatever you're celebrating. Even if you're not celebrating, hopefully you can get some rest, some relaxation. Happy holidays to you all. Smash the like button on your way out. I'm Chief. No, I'm TJ. He's Chief.
Yeah.
On behalf of us, Neil, Erik, Tim, Dean, thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace.